It's football season, and that means it's bug season. Heck, who am I kidding? It's always bug season in Texas. And that's why you need Grandeur Pest Solutions in your corner. They're locally owned and operated. They're trained, they're trustworthy, and they have a proven record as they have been in business for almost 10 years. They provide pest control against ants, bed bugs, bees, roaches, fleas, wasps, mosquitoes, rodents, spiders. If it crawls and you don't like it, they're probably going to take care of it for you. Now, they serve all of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and they're locally owned. These two guys have been running this business since 2013, and every year they get bigger and bigger. But you know what they still do? They still have great customer service. In fact, if you get a hold of them, they're usually going to have your quote and actually, I want to stop that ad right there because, we do these ads all the time and we talk and, we love our sponsors and we try our best to engage with our sponsors because they're all local. And one of the ways we do that is you as a co-host, you actually use Grandeur Pest Solutions. In fact, you have an appointment with them here. I guess that you do this every 6 months or so.
I usually do it, every 6 months or so. I didn't use Grandeur this year yet, so this will be my first time using them this year. But I use them in the past.
I keep telling you, dude, if you would take care of the dead bodies better, you won't have as many bugs. But you just won't listen to me on that. You're real lazy when it comes to that.
No comment.
Okay. By the way, hang on. Now.
Here we go. Buck. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
It's time for the old time happy
Every time I play this, no lie, I want to watch Boardwalk Empire.
Love that show. Love that show.
It's the most rewatchable shows because the shows that have like 7 plots going at once when they do them right are so easy rewatchable because you kind of forget a lot of the side plots. I usually do a Boardwalk Empire. It's funny, the very first time it came out, and by the way, this is a sports show. Shut up. This is our show. We talk what we want. No, we'll get into all that here in a minute. But the very first time it came out, I actually didn't like it. Like I tried it, and I was just like, it's just kind of a slog. And then during 2020, you run out of stuff to watch during the pandemic. And so I think I remember even telling you, like, I'm going to try this again. And you're like, dude, you're going to love it. And 3 episodes in, I think I ran through every season within the next 72 hours. Anyway, that is Intern Noe the Pro. I am Terry the host. This is Outdrank the Coverage, brought to you by Grandeur Pest Solutions, Lazy Dog Kettle Corn, and Beach Whiskey. We'll be talking about all those more here. But tonight what we're going to be doing is we're going to be, of course, doing our normal show, but also the Dallas Cowboys are playing tonight. So we will be doing we're basically going to, we guarantee you we're going to watch till about 9. After that, we're going to see what the score is. Because I ain't going to lie, I kind of feel like we already need to play this.
You rotten bugs! You overpaid winners! Vile thing! You make my butt stink!
I kind of feel like we're going to have to already play this because, look, I love what Dallas has done the last 2 games as the fan in me that still has that hope. But you want to talk about playing the exact worst type of team in your own stadium right now? It's a team like the Cincinnati Bengals who, they're literally on their lap. If they lose another game, they might be eliminated. They won't officially be, but you then start having to where they're going to have 4 and 5 jumps over teams and other teams collapse. They basically got to win out. And, they can also score 45 points a game if they need to. I think this might remind us of the Saints game. I think it's going to be ugly.
I have no clue what's going to happen because initially I thought the same thing you thought. It was going to be ugly tonight. But then I'm thinking about it some more. And like you said, Cincinnati's offense can score 45 a game, but their defense can also allow 50 points a game.
Yeah, but we still got Cooper Rush. Look, I know he does really well in what he does, and he's a needed guy. I hope that they're able to keep Cooper Rush for as long as he's in the league as a backup quarterback. But let's also understand that this ain't Dak Prescott's offense. We can gripe about him and talk about Dak's not a playoff quarterback, blah, blah, blah. He is in every facet better than Cooper Rush. And that's the only problem I have because, man, I say that, they didn't really score against the Giants, but you know what? The Giants held New Orleans to 14 points yesterday. And, of course, New Orleans is in their own little weird boat right now. I don't understand how that offensive talent, even with Derek Carr banged up and even with Taysom Hill out, how they can't score more points in this league. It doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway.
Well, I mean, they also don't have their top 2 receivers either. So that kind of also hurts. But they were doing this after the Dallas game. So something happened after they beat Dallas, and they played Philadelphia and New Orleans, and they looked terrible. And then it just spiraled after that.
Well, that's why Dennis Allen is no longer there.
That is true. But hey, I like that interim coach, though.
So far, I mean, he hasn't really done anything, I don't think he keeps his job unless they win out. I think, and the funny thing is, if they were to win out, that would actually put them back into the NFC South matchup. Anyway, we also want. Oh, by the way, how are you doing? And what are you drinking?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. I am doing gin tonight.
Oh, where'd you meet her? Oh, the drink. My bad.
It's a gin with a French twist. It's called Esme.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, I've been trying to venture out and try to test more gins. But yeah, it has juniper spice, cucumber, rose, like it's gin, but it has a hint of like with the rose they add in it. It has a hint of French to it.
Yeah,
it's pretty good. I'm just drinking it neat. No ice at all. So anyway, how are you doing? What you drinking?
Well, I am drinking, as you can see on our scroll, Beach Whiskey. You can find them online at www.beachwhiskey.com. They say take your beach or take your holiday to the beach. And this is Island Coconut. I'm still waiting. They're supposed to be sending us some cinnamon, which is supposed to be, I've been told by somebody that tried it, it's like if Fireball tasted good. And the biggest thing they said, which by the way is my biggest knock on really Fireball or any of those types of drinks, is Fireball, if you do a couple shots, you feel like you have sugar on your mouth the rest of the night. Like you feel that. And he said with Beach Whiskey Cinnamon, they don't. And honestly, I feel the same way about any kind of light rum, like a Malibu rum, which I know you hate. But even like a spicy rum, a lot of times, if you have a couple drinks, it just feels like you feel like you spend the rest of your day wiping your mouth off with sugar. I don't feel that with this. It's perfect for this type of show. Now, it is 52 proof, so if you're like wanting to get tore up from the floor up, this is not your drink. If you want to be an adult and get mildly buzzed and pass out, this is your drink. On my Facebook, we posted it the other day. Studio wife and I were going to do the Christmas tree. And so we got the tree out, and we put on our first Christmas movie. And of course, we're like, hey, let's have some drinks. I'm like, hey, let's just sip this. And like 4 drinks in, the tree's not up, and we're ordering Wendy's, and we're in bed by 10:05 p.m. And there might have been a fry box in the bed with us, but don't judge us. But anyway, check out beachwhiskey.com. We love them. We're going to be doing some really cool things with them next year, including the Super Bowl. Oh, we got so many cool things to talk about when it comes to the Super Bowl and what's going to be happening in 2025 for the show. But we'll do that here in the future. We do have breaking news before we get into the NFL. The college football Heisman Award finalists have been named. I think we know. I wasn't really surprised by any of them. Were you?
No.
Travis Hunter and Deshaun. Yeah, go ahead.
So Boise State's running back Ashton Jeanty, Colorado's all-purpose player Travis Hunter, Oregon's undefeated Oregon, their quarterback Dylan Gabriel, and then Miami's quarterback Cam Ward, who just doesn't have the defense, unfortunately. Otherwise, they'd be in the playoffs. But yeah, those are the 4 finalists, and I listed them to you in the order that I think is going to finish. I think Boise State's running back Jeanty is going to run away with it. I think Hunter will make it competitive because he's a 2-way player, but he's about to break the rushing record for a single season. We'll see what happens.
I think that there is a outside chance if votes start getting split that someone like Gabriel could end up sneaking up and winning it. I don't think he will. But I think that vote's going to be a lot more split than you think, man. I'm not saying that's right. Look, I like Travis Hunter. The issue that I have with Travis Hunter, as far as like a Heisman Award, not actual play on the field, folks, is he has done nothing great. He does everything really well. And yes, if you put him just at receiver, I have no doubt he'd be a 1,500-yard receiver with 22 touchdowns this year. If you put him strictly in the secondary, I have no doubt he would have 9 interceptions, a couple pick sixes, and all that. But the way they use him, which works for Colorado, the way they use him, I just don't think he's great enough in anything to be like, you're the best player. But I think the two-way thing, that's what keeps those guys in those races. And you can make the case that he's the best two-way player in college football.
Oh, I would put money on that. Like, I really do think he's the best two-way player in college football. Mainly because there's not many right now. And that's kind of just been because everybody's, specializing in a certain skill set. You want to play strong safety, you want to play free safety, you want to play nickel. You want to be an expert at that one position. And which, Travis's case, like you said, since he's doing both, it's kind of like a jack of all trades, master of none situation.
Yep. I totally agree.
So yeah, that's great. And then, really the next 3 Monday nights are going to be pretty special for us. Tonight's the Cowboy game. Next Monday is we're going to preview college football playoffs, give our predictions, talk about each matchup.
Not just us though.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the one downside to it, but go ahead.
Yeah, by law, I have to invite, if we do a college football show, which, by the way, though, this will be the first time since 2014 that the full Outdrank the Coverage crew will be talking Outdrank the Coverage. Now, you've come on many times on our high school stuff. In fact, you're going to probably be in studio with me next week for one of the state championship days when we do this kind of thing where we're watching the state championships through the day. But Grant Goodwin of Sideline to Sideline, my co-host, one of the original Three Stooges of Outdrank the Coverage, when we used to talk for an hour on college and then an hour on pro, and Grant would be very into the first hour. And then if we'd have had video, you'd have literally see Grant sometimes falling asleep at the table while you and I were talking the pro, because he likes the Cowboys. He watches at the NFL, but he does not have that engagement that like we do with the sport. But so how we're going to do it, we're going to have our normally planned Monday night happy hour, probably move it back to like 6:30, back to its normal time since we're not trying to watch the game necessarily. And then you, Grant, and I will break down the games, who we think's going to win, and then however long that takes, and then you and I will wrap it up with doing the normal NFL stuff. But we're going to have Grant on each Monday through the championship game, or at least through when the games are being played. Again, they do that weird thing where they're going to play a bunch of them really quick, and then they take like 2 weeks off before they play the championship. But let's go ahead and break that down. And again, if you don't know, if you're just now joining us, we're going to be doing the Monday night watching party of the Cowboys. Starts in about 15 minutes, so you can join us for that. And then we're just going to kind of talk yesterday and just all the sports stuff. Juan Soto, big signing for the Mets. Mets are going to Mets. I'm assuming he'll be traded to Texas or Houston or somewhere in July when the Mets are 20 games out of first place. But let's talk the college playoffs. The brackets came out yesterday. I was really surprised they did the show so early on the day on Sunday. Right in the middle of the NFL, or right before the NFL. Why did you not put that on Monday? Or even Saturday night. Like, do a Saturday night, because everybody knew what they want. The committee knew what they wanted by then. But anyway, what are your thoughts on the playoff bracket?
I'm excited. I think there's no controversy anymore. People make out controversy, but there's 12 teams in here. If you were ranked 13th, oh, boo-hoo. This would have been an afterthought last year. So I like that there's 12 teams. I'm pretty sure it'll eventually expand to 16 or whatever, but this is a good number, 12. I like that they have buys. This is the latest that the championship's going to be, because the national championship is going to be on January 20th. Typically, it's been like the second Monday in January, roughly. But yeah, we have a first round. We got some quarterfinals. Semifinals are January 9th and 10th. That's usually around the time of the championship from prior years. So I'm very excited. I like the matchups. I think 2 teams have a pretty clear path to the semifinals. Texas being one of them, and the winner of SMU and Penn State.
The Texas one, as a Texas fan, I feel really comfortable in it because Clemson's offense has struggled anyway, and Texas does legitimately have a lockdown defense this year. But the issue I'm having now, and I have stood by him, and I think, and this is the frustrating thing about Quinn Ewers, is outside of the 2 or 3 mistakes he makes every game, he also makes 7 or 8 passes that nobody else can make. Now you could go like, well, that's why he commits interceptions as he's trying these dangerous balls. That's the issue, though. His interceptions almost always are what the throws. It's like Tony Romo in the early part of his career, where he'd go, and this is why people have this perception of Tony Romo, where he'd go 22 of 28 for 340 yards, but two of his incompletions were interceptions, and they were terrible interceptions. I know that Sark is I think he's caught between a rock and a hard place. I think he would love to start Archie Manning. And I'm not even saying Archie Manning is the answer, but with Ears' ankle injury and how inconsistent he is, that's the thing that concerns me, because Clemson turns offenses over well. They are a ball hawking team, and I'm just saying this as a Texas fan, that game screams upset to me. That game 100% screams upset to me.
Well, I mean, a 5-12 matchup in basketball usually screams upset. So I guess we'll see if it also translates into the college game. Hey, kudos on Dabo Swinney for figuring out a way to get in there. Big win against SMU in the ACC championship game. I know there's some moral issues that we have with Dabo, but he's still successful.
Hey, he's a great coach, 100% great coach. But I've always told you this. I've told you this since you and I've known each other. Like, when I meet coaches, they usually fall into two realms. The dude, is a great coach. He's there. Yeah, he wants to win. Yeah, he wants to make money, but he's there. And I'm talking about the high school level, folks. He's there because he truly does want to help men, boys become men. Da 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 da. Motown Philly. Oh, that's a bad reference. Sorry, but he wants to do that. And then you have the car salesman type, and Dabo is 1,000% in the car salesman type. When you're a multi-million-dollar coach griping that athletes that you grind into dust physically are making money that can set them up for their life and their family's life, and sometimes multi-generational wealth, I have an issue with you. And that's the whole thing, like with Nick Saban. Look, folks, Nick Saban retired because he didn't know the game passed him by as far as the nil and stuff. Dabo and Mike Gundy are still trying to be old school coaches, and I'll give Dabo credit, but let's be honest, it's still the ACC. Florida State was terrible this year. Virginia Tech has kind of felt like they've leveled off. SMU, great season, but do you really and by the way, I will be rooting for SMU. Do not get me wrong. But don't you kind of feel like Penn State might kind of dominate SMU?
I have always had issues with Penn State. They're that team that's like a top 5 or 6, but they could just never get to that number 1 position. Kudos to James Franklin, their head coach, for the consistency he's brought to Penn State. They're always in the consideration for a championship, but they always fall flat against the Michigan or Ohio State in the regular season. So, they're in the playoffs. They have a prime matchup. Like I said, along with Texas Clemson, going through Boise State is a better option than Oregon, the number 1 team, and Georgia, the number 2 team. So, playing Boise State or Arizona State, the Big 12 champion, those are better options in the quarterfinals. So that's why I think Penn State, I don't really view them as a number 6 team, but I view them as a team that can get to the semifinals just because of the path. I don't think they'll blow out SMU by any means, but I think they might win by a touchdown or 2.
I do feel that the number 1 seed got kind of a crappy draw somehow.
Yes.
They got to stop. So to me, if you're going to allow, you need to do it. There's got to be one of 2 ways. You either every conference champ, even if you're picking, because you technically get the Power 5 get 4, and then the non-Power 5 get 1. I don't care if they're non-power. If you pick a team that wins the conference, it should be 1 through 5 are conference champs. Everybody else is wild card. Then you can, because Oregon and you reseed after each round, which I have no problem. I think they should do that. I have no problem with that. Reseed after each round, because Oregon, the number 1 team, should not have a trickier place than Texas. And to be fair, if Texas does what they should, they'll be playing Oregon in 2 games.
For those that don't have the bracket up, Oregon, the number 1 team, they're going to play in the Rose Bowl on January 1st against the winner of Tennessee and Ohio State. 2 very tough teams to play. Tennessee has a great quarterback, or Ohio State just has great recruits. Both of them be tough matchups for Oregon. Oregon, I don't know if you remember early in the season, Oregon and Ohio State had that really close game. Just went down to the wire, and Oregon prevailed. So yeah, this is really unfair to them.
And so I think they've got to figure that. And again, somebody in our sports rehab group on Facebook said it best. Though people are expecting this to be perfect in the first year. No, it's not going to be. You're going to have to tweak things until you figure it out. I think that's one of the bigger tweaks. You need to give and it's not even just Oregon. Like multiple teams have a better path to the semifinals than Oregon does, and that's not the way it should be. It's got to. They've got to do better. I also, I kind of wish they could do the MLB rule too, but I don't think you really can because there's going to be years where multiple teams make it from conferences. But I really wish conferences couldn't play each other again to the semifinals if there was any way to do that. Like, I don't like the idea of Ohio State and Oregon already in round 2. Hell, there were some brackets that were saying Georgia and Texas. If Texas would have beat Georgia, there was a lot of brackets saying Texas and Georgia could meet in the second round. Texas would have got the bye instead of Georgia. And it's like, really? Like, that's too soon. So it's not going to be perfect to start, but I'm going to say this. I still love this way better. And it still creates drama. And, folks, you got to understand, there's always going to be a side of the college football people that don't want to make it perfect because they want this. They want shows like us talking about them. They want ESPN to have 42 different opinions, and half of them are like, this is why this is a bad idea. And the other half like, no, this is why this is working, because it drives that type of viewership and that interaction and stuff like that. So understand that. You never want to make it perfect, because if you make it perfect, what the hell is the point of talking about it?
Yeah, good. Hey, this is kind of like WWE. It is sports and entertainment.
All right, so personal question. This just for everybody else. Y'all just mute right now. I got to talk to Noe right here. So I sent you I sent you a funny reels about a guy wearing a Halloween costume, and you and I have been talking a little bit more about it recently. I'm kind of getting that itch to start watching wrestling again.
Why is that? Just because of the newfound popularity?
Well, I sent you a couple reels for everybody. Me and Noah, just like everybody, all other friends, we send each other 1,000 reels a day, and they're usually sports. And if you hit one and you send it, you kind of get into that loop. Well, I've been in that loop where it's Kane and what's his name and a bunch of different people just telling wrestling stories. And so I've just kind of gotten more into the wrestling because, I know American Badass, he's gone real weird on some of his views lately, but just to hear him when he's talking about sport, like wrestling and all the stories, it's an absolute blast to watch. By the way, Hector Guzman says he's watching the Simpsons game because the Simpsons Cowboys ain't been good since the 90s. Okay, that's fine. That's fair. What's good? I love you, Hector, but I got to admit that annoys me when people say that, because no, Dallas has not made the NFC title game. Dallas hasn't been to the Super Bowl, but it's not like Dallas has gone Detroit Lions and Cleveland Browns every year.
Yeah, so obviously you and I both know what he means. He means good as in winning Super Bowls.
Yeah.
So he really means great, but he said good in this post. I get it. It's always this hope of, we're going all the way. All 32 teams, their fans have the same hope. Like, oh man, look what they did in the offseason. Like with the Panthers, they upgraded their guard play, and everybody thought, oh, okay, with Dave Canales there, the wonders he did with Baker Mayfield, they might take that step forward. They might be the 99 Rams. That didn't happen. Now they're playing a lot better now, but they're not. Yeah, it's all 32 teams have hope that they'll be great that season, and that's the beauty of the NFL. There's a lot of parity. The salary cap, free agency, it creates that. So I think you and I are pretty much realistic with the Cowboys. We know what we're getting. Will I ever see another Super Bowl for the Cowboys in my lifetime? Who knows?
I think so. I think so. I think that's, I think it's a valid conversation, but I still contend, and you and I have talked about this before, at the end of the day, when you're talking about teams that are, for the most part, over a 40-year period, all at points the same level, and you're talking about one thing might change everything for one team or and all that. I think a lot of it almost is just law of averages. And you go from we'll say 1965. And I know they started in 60, but 65 is when Dallas really started to kind of become relevant. But from 1965 to 1995, a good 30-year period, you're talking about a team that played in 8 Super Bowls in 30 years. The law of averages will catch you up to that. You can make and we know Hector said just busting chops as a text. Oh, we know, but it allowed us to talk about this because this is a thing that Noah and I, I get annoyed with the people but again, this is my whole view on sports commentary now. I say this all the time. People don't just enjoy the sport anymore. If you're either the GOAT or trash. Oh my God, you're trash. Hey, you're just not good. Dude, Dan Fouts would be considered trash in this era. Hell, Dan Marino would be considered trash. They would call Dan Marino in this era, and they might have back then. We didn't have sports radio, but they would have called Dan Marino in this era. Oh, he's just a stat garbage guy. He just gets stats. He doesn't win. And I get annoyed with that. And I get annoyed with that when people talk about teams in context of like, oh, y'all suck. Y'all have sucked since 95. Well, no, we've had sucky years. But, the Cowboys have been good many, many times. They just haven't made that next step. Speaking of next step, I got to ask, we're about 2 minutes away from the game starting. Again, we're just going to talk while the game's going. We'll make some comments on the game. Is there – how am I going to say this? I see the Chiefs season only going 2 ways. One, they get beat in the divisional round by 3 touchdowns by the Bills or somebody like that, or they win the Super Bowl. They are either the most, holy crap, how do they keep pulling that out? This is how great they are. Or they are the, holy crap, they keep pulling it out. Eventually that's going to go against them. How are you seeing them?
What you're alluding to, for those that are listening, is the fact that the Chiefs keep winning in the most ridiculous ways. Case in point, this past weekend, last night against the Chargers, they drive with their 3rd string kicker. I think they're the first team in history to have 3 game-winning kicks from 3 different kickers.
Yes, exactly.
Harrison,
cool stat, by the way.
Their Pro Bowl kicker Harrison Butker got injured. He's been out. The backup, the one they signed off the street, came in, did well. He's hurt. 3rd string guys here, and he doinked it off the goalpost in to win. They were down 17-16, and they drove for the win. So they beat a very good Chargers team. They swept the series. They won the division. They have a clear path to the number 1 seed and home field advantage throughout. Now, to answer your question and how I see it, I think luck does run out in the playoffs. I kind of want to see one team win 3 in a row in the Super Bowl era. It still has never been done, and we're at Super Bowl 59, 58, 59 now. So I kind of do see them not making it to New Orleans. I think they will lose. I really think the Bills are that team this year. Now, they had the big loss last night, even though Josh Allen had 6 touchdowns.
Jesus.
I don't know how you have 6 touchdowns and still lose, but
because Sean McDermott's your head coach.
Yeah, and if they don't make it to the Super Bowl, there's going to have to be some questions about his status going forward. He's a really good head coach. The Bills have been great since he's been there, but at some point, you got to take that next step. And you have Josh Allen has been described as an alien by a lot of people because he just doesn't make sense how good he is and how dominant he is, knowing full well he doesn't have an elite receiver. He has a solid line. He has a pretty good back. The defense is okay, but they're always hurt. So the whole weight of the franchise is on his shoulders, and it's just like it's no big deal to him.
Yep. That's the best way to describe it right there. It is like it is no big deal to him. Whether he's so locked in or he's so oblivious, sometimes it's, and I don't mean he's dumb. I'm just saying he just doesn't, nothing ever phases him. And that's a positive. And it's amazing to see how, he works. But the reason we're saying McDermott, and to be fair, Sean has went basically all year without doing stupid stuff. Now, to be fair, Buffalo hasn't really put him in the situations, but they basically had a spot yesterday where they've got the ball at the goal line, and all you got to do is run the clock out and score, and they how did they went quarterback sneak and burnt a timeout instead of throwing the ball to the end zone and keeping your timeout, so you'd have 3 timeouts when you got the ball back. And so the Rams were able to run out the clock after the Bills got points. Now, to be fair, give the Rams credit. You and we're big on Sean McVay. I think right now Sean McVay and Andy Reid are the 2 best coaches in the league, and I think Andy Reid's higher, but not by a lot. But and
winning 3 Super Bowls helps.
Well, yeah, it does. No, 100%. No, and Andy Reid's I'm just saying, I think Sean McVay does a lot of great things, but because of injuries and things like that, it kind of gets forgotten about. And to be fair, they need to start the seasons out better. Speaking of Thursday night, oh boy, Amazon got that. That's one of the games that plays out perfect for them. They get the Rams and the Niners in a division that everything is still up in the air. Every team in the NFC West can win the division, and they all have a clear path to the division.
As it stands today, Seattle, they've been on a 4-game winning streak, and they're currently leading the NFC West with an 8-5 record. But the Rams are 1 game behind at 7-6. The 49ers are 6-7, and they're the 4th seed, or the 4th place in the division. So yeah, I mean, if San Francisco wins, they're right back in it. They just had a big win against the Bears this past weekend. This is the first game the Bears have played since they fired Matt Eberflus. They let their offensive coordinator, I think his name Thomas Brown, intern as a head coach, and it was a poor performance. I think they had 4 yards. Well, they had 4 yards at halftime.
Well, that did not look like a team that was happy that their coach got fired, and I know they were.
You cut out. I think Terry's. Terry's
Facebook for that.
Okay.
I mean, off
you're back.
YouTube. Okay. Sorry, the game was. I had to. What?
3 and out?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! The Cowboys have hope in life.
Cowboys are wearing the white helmet look, not the Thanksgiving look, the new white helmet, the one that's up on the table or on the wall right there, as you can see. I like this look. I do wish they would get rid of the blue shoulder sleeves and just go all white.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of the 2017 Rams, where they changed their look, but they couldn't fully do it, I guess, because of, I don't know, deals or marketing or whatever. So they kind of had this hybrid look where it looked good enough, because it went back to the original blue and white.
Yeah.
But they still had some of the old St. Louis Ram gold trim. Man, the Cowboys defense 3 and out. This is probably the biggest shock of the day for me. I really thought because this season at home, opposing teams have had their will against the Cowboys defense.
No.
So just to see a really good defense or really good offense like Cincinnati just go 3 and out on the Cowboys is kind of promising. By the way, I do like Cincinnati's look.
Yeah, they made a lot of changes this year that I think they regressed uniform wise. This is not one of them. This is a good look.
Oh, Corey Thompson in the thread on Facebook says if we can get Jerry out of the way, he'll be the one doing the service at my place on Wednesday for Grandeur.
We have a show. We kind of did it last week, but we backed off of it because I really wanted to articulate a little bit more, and I want it to be one of our all-season shows. We're going to have a whole episode about where Jerry lies in the why haven't Dallas made it back to the Super Bowl.
That was the makings of a good conversation, but yeah, I agree. I think both of us need to do a little bit more research and then come prepared for a good discussion. Yeah,
I want to make sure we have actual stats. I don't want to speak on what I think. And then, it's the old joke. I always joke with you about this. It wasn't your fault, but anyway. But you and I, back when we started talking fantasy and stuff, we bring up the Andy Dalton, and you're like, Andy Dalton is terrible on the road. And I was like, I know, I don't doubt him, but I kind of remember this stat. And I went and looked, and it turned out, like, for the 4 years that he was the starter at that point when we had the conversation, he literally was the best road quarterback. But the thing was, he was one of those that when he had a bad road game, it would be like 5 interceptions. And so everybody would remember that. And so, yeah, that's kind of funny that you bring that up. I want to make sure my stats and beliefs on what Jerry's fault, where it lies, is based in reality. So that'll be a regular, an all-season show that we'll do. And I think it'll be a fun one. By the way, Dallas is moving.
That's not shocking to me just because of Cincinnati's defense. And I have a lot of respect for the Bengals defensive coordinator, Lou Anarumo.
You're very solid, coach.
What he did in 2021 and 2022 with this team was amazing. The second half adjustments were awesome. But if he doesn't have the players, it's just not going to work. And what happened what happened over the last few years is through free agency, he just started losing players. All he has is Trey Hendrickson, their all-world defensive end. They have some pieces, but like it's just not a good personnel needs to change in 2025 if the Bengals are going to actually compete. I think they should keep their defensive coordinator because he's really, really good, but the personnel is just not there.
Speaking of, Corey, go to Grandeur Pest Solutions online, grandeur4sure.com for all your pest solution needs. If you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, as you saw the video that we always play right before we start the show, I don't have to cut it off because we wanted to do a personal ad read with Grandeur going out to intern Noe the Pro's studio this week to get rid of all the dead roaches and stuff so what happens is Noe likes to hang out with his roaches. Oh, you don't remember Joe's apartment, I bet. That was a show with Jerry O'Connell where he lived in a New York rundown apartment with 1 million roaches, and the roaches talked.
Oh, that's hilarious. Okay. I'd never heard of it.
So let me ask you this. As we talk about the Cowboys, as it's 0-0, the Cowboys have the ball first and goal third and 2 at the 12. I was reading that wrong. Why... As it's going to be short. It's fourth down right now. It's going to be short by I say you go for it. Field goal don't mean crap right now.
For fantasy football owners, it means a lot if you're starting Brandon Aubrey.
I'm talking about for the real football.
By the way, fantasy football wise, we're trying to incorporate that on the show more. I'm in 5 leagues. I think you're in 7 leagues. I should make the playoff. So this is week 14 is the final week of the regular season for most leagues. I think I'm going to make the playoffs in 4 out of 5 leagues. I'll know more tonight. How about you?
I have officially clinched in 3. I can make it in 5. I realistically should make it in 5. And then we have a touchdown, Dallas. Oh, my gosh. On 4th and goal, Cooper, Dak Prescott, Tony Romo rush hits CeeDee Lamb, and the Cowboys march to the playoffs continue.
Shut up.
Dude, I mean, all jokes aside, if they legitimately win this game, we can stop joking about that. I mean, you're now at 6 and 7.
You play the Panthers next week.
Well, and hey, we'll talk about the Panthers. That's still a scary game now.
Yeah.
But seriously, Dallas, I can't believe I'm going to say this. I think Mike McCarthy is making a very good case of why he should be back next year.
Micah Parsons made a big case of why he should come back next year. He posted recently where, I don't know if he was in an interview or whatever, but he basically said, I don't think we had a full season to really find out if we're all in. So I want everybody back, including Mike McCarthy. So, I mean, that's the guy that's going to get paid in this offseason. And he even said in a Monday Night Football interview before this game that he doesn't necessarily need to be the highest paid player.
Yeah. And he has said that multiple times.
He wants to be in the best situation for him. So he wants stars on this team. So he will take – he said to him 30, 40 million a year is not a big difference. There's no difference to him.
Did that – I don't want to say it was a dig at Dak or CD, but that kind of felt like you know what I mean? I don't mean that he really was. I don't think he was, but I do think that that's one of those things as other players in the locker room will hear that, and then they kind of look over at Dak and be like, you already made $100 million. You couldn't have taken $40 million a year. It had to be $60 million a year.
Because you want to fill up again, you can't call someone like a Dan Fouts, to bring back your conversation earlier. You can't call Dan Fouts or Dan Marino trash if they don't have a running game or a defense. This is a team sport. I know us as Americans, we like to individualize stuff. That's why Die Hard is probably one of the greatest action movies of all time, because it's like this one guy in this big tower is going up against this foreign enemies. We just are so individualistic that we want to focus on Patrick Mahomes is not the reason why the Chiefs are 12-1 right now. As much as people but he's the starting quarterback on.
Well, see, that's a great study because for the totality of the game, You're right. But Mahomes has time and time again this year had the drive that gets them the win.
That's the point. But that's the point I'm trying to make. Like, he's not the only reason.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
it's a team effort from the front office, the Hunt family, to Andy Reid, the best coach in football right now, to probably the best quarterback in crunch time, Patrick Mahomes. A great cast, a lot of good role players. Leo Chanel will eventually become one of those big stars that everybody knows. But the linebacker like Leo Chanel, their cornerbacks, all solid. Uh, just from top to bottom, there's not really a big weak link except for like the wide receivers are always getting hurt. But they always find a way because they work together as a team. And this is a team sport. There's going to be stars everywhere. You got your Travis Kelce, who earlier this year, he was kind of down, but now he's doing good. You can't just individualize this game. It's too complicated. It's too much of a team sport to do that. That's why whenever Tony Romo, when he was getting bashed, I got mad about that because he's really good. And he was dragging 2-14 teams to 8-8. But against Cowboy fans, they can be the worst in that case. Like, it's a Super Bowl or not, Super Bowl or mid, or Super Bowl or trash. So,
well, and to be fair, that's just sports in general. I call it the Skip Bayless effect. And I don't necessarily blame him personally, but because it's really the sports radio effect, because sports radio really got big in the late 80s. And then, of course, one of the stations that's been in Dallas since 1993 basically kind of wrote how you do sports radio and do it successfully. And that's The Ticket, because they combine guy talk, music, we joke. Our whole show is sports, sports, food, movies, and booze, because we like to talk all that thing. And so The Ticket's really the first one that showed you didn't have to just be there talking the 3 deep roster of a team. But what then led to all that started with the whole, they're not good because they got beat. They suck. They're trash. And then Skip Bayless and that debate model started on TV, and that's what led to where we're at now, to where nobody just debates nuances in sports anymore. It's all extreme. It's like you say, he's either amazing or he's the worst player in the league. Why is he playing? And there's there's other players too. It's not just the quarterback. Micah Parsons just got a penalty he's not happy about. 7-0, the Cowboys lead with 8:11 left here in the first quarter.
Yeah, Bengals are never going to be out, though. If you think about the Sunday night game against the Chargers, they were down big at the half, but then they had the big second half come back against the Chargers. They eventually lost, but this is the Bengals team. They're not gonna be shut out. So you'll be seeing Burrow slinging it to Chase and to Higgins and company. Chase Brown, the running back, is going to get some carries.
I thought he was out. Is he playing?
Yeah, Chase Brown's playing. This is a good start for the Cowboys. This is way better than I thought it would be. I think I'm a little behind. The Bengals just got a first down. Balls across midfield.
Oh no, you're actually ahead.
Oh, okay.
Oh no, we're on the side. Did he just shovel it to Chase Brown?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, 30, Chase Brown. Yep.
Yeah, so we're on the same.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 1st and 10 with 7:20 left is what I have.
Yeah. So I was behind earlier because you said it was 4th down on the Cowboys drive, and I just saw 3rd down happen. So I guess I'm caught up. But
Jamar Chase with a big run on the end around. I think the question in the room for the Bengals is, what do you do with Chase? What do you do with T. Higgins?
Man,
because this team is completely different when he's in there.
I would not mess with that offense. I would try to figure out a way to keep Higgins, but you need to have some money to spend on that defense, because that defense is a priority. If he wants wide receiver 1 money and you can't afford it, I would just let him go, because you have a bigger problem with that defense. You will never make it to the playoffs with that defense. You have the coach to run it. You just need the personnel. And not like overall haul of just replacing 10 out of 11 guys. It's really maybe like 5 or 6 players you can replace that'll make a big difference.
I don't know. I think he is very special. I'm not going to say he's as good as Jamar Chase, but I don't think he's that far off from Jamar Chase. In fact, I think what T. Higgins does physically, I'll say this, and I meant to say this with you a couple weeks ago. He right now in the league is the one that reminds me the most of Michael Irvin.
Wow.
I mean, he's
Good
big,
praise.
he's physical. Hell, he nearly killed a player 2 years ago. I mean, think about it. That was T. Higgins that hit Hamlin, but he's very physical, and he runs those inside routes. You just caught that, didn't you?
I love that DeMar Hamlin, who's healthy now, thank God. Uh, he's starting to take players out of the games. Because he was a guy on the Tua tackle, if I'm not mistaken, earlier this season.
Well, to be fair, Tua dove into him. I still don't understand that play. That play still confuses the hell out of me. Like, Tua, buddy, what were you doing?
And I think Tua is acknowledging. I remember hearing on the red zone yesterday that Tua acknowledged that, that was all my fault. You know, all those concussions. And I don't want to wear the NFL cap, but I will work on protecting myself.
And
Miami,
that's all he really needs to do.
Miami had a big win against the Jets in overtime. My issue with the Dolphins, huh?
That was big. I mean, that was first off. I'll say this:
it's big because they needed. They were 5-7. They're on a roll.
You're right. I'm kidding because it was an ugly game. And I want to go ahead and real quick before you get into that. The Sunday noon games yesterday were pretty blah.
Yes, they were.
It was just one of those days. You'll get those just boring. I mean, even the close games were either that one, which was ugly, or it's the Jags and the Titans. So the game didn't mean anything, even though that was an entertaining game. You're out of 17 weeks, you're going to have 3 or 4 to 5 that are just okay. I think both of us lost focus. We both were like doing other things by 2:00.
Oh yeah, I was listening to Hanson, but I was just kind of watching at my TV. Jacksonville wins in Tennessee 10-6. I mean, it was just, to me, just felt like a meaningless game, and Jacksonville probably would have done better by losing the game, but they ended up winning. With Mac Jones at quarterback. So, going back to go ahead.
He was terrible.
Yeah, he was there. It was 10-6. It's Jacksonville and Tennessee. You and I were not surprised it was going to be terrible.
Oh God, no. You know.
So I was going to say, so Jets are officially eliminated from the playoffs. I actually thought it was an entertaining game overall, but it always reminds me, especially what happened in overtime, where Jonnu Smith finally got 3 catches and got the game-winning touchdown. I want to like Miami's offense, but I always feel like it's lacking that tight end component. And I think they're trying to incorporate the tight end to that offense. But like with Mike Gesicki, he was so perfect for that offense, but then he bolted because they weren't really using him. Jonnu Smith is finally being used right now. And I really like the potential for this team, even in cold weather games, if they just really factor in the tight end.
Oh, great defensive play by the Cowboys. I can't see who that is to knock.
He didn't even have his mouth guard in.
Oh, it's Bland.
Yeah,
I didn't realize Bland. I thought he was. Oh, that's right. He came back last week. Sorry, he came back last week.
So this brings back the first time I noticed players not wearing their mouth guard was last year at your place when we were watching the high school championships.
Yep.
I didn't read any comments on it. If your sideline to sideline follower said anything, but that was the first time I saw it. So it's almost been a year, and I still don't get it. I haven't looked it up to see if it's like a cool thing players do, because you're seeing it at all levels, like high school, college, and the NFL.
I think even when you brought it up, you were not scolding, but you're like, these kids these days. And I think I was like, dude, the pros do it too. But in hockey, they do the same thing, except for they chew their mouthpiece. It'll hang outside. In fact, I play video games. One of them I play is hockey, and you literally can have that as one of your guys' uniform choices, is he's got his mouthpiece hanging out. I don't know if it's a cool thing. I think a lot of times it's kind of a mindless thing. The Bengals get a huge first down when Dallas had him in a chance to put him in the field goal position. And this is where we talk about how hard it is to play this offense. Dallas played that play very well. It's just Burrows was able to break out the pocket. T. Higgins, again, the physical guy. Let's see if they show T. Higgins on his routes. I've always liked him, probably because I got him in fantasy and he immediately played off in his rookie year. And I always try to get him because he's one of those guys people forget about. There's so many good receivers you can get late. Like, I don't understand people that go for the Tyreek Hill or even the Jamar Chase and burn a first-round pick when you can get a guy who might not get you 20 points a game but can get you 18 points a game. You know, I've started. FanDuel has taught me the value of it's not just about the top guy. Because in FanDuel, if people don't know, you have a budget, and so if you can pay $6,000 on your budget for a T. Higgins and get 2 less points than Jamar Chase, who's at 9,000. That's almost another player you can get. So I've learned really big that it's not about the star name, man. Get the depth. You know, get the depth in your fantasy. Anyway, 2nd and goal now for the Bengals, currently on a 10-play, 65-yard drive at the 6-yard line, 4-yard line. Or technically, I guess it is the 6. It's hard to tell. I've got the big screen further away, so I can't really see the intricate ones.
I think the 5-yard line.
Corner throw, touchdown, Jamar Chase. That's a great. You can't stop that. Deron Bland, perfect coverage. That's Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow's doing Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow things right there.
Yeah. Hey, this is not the worst start for the Cowboys. I'll admit that. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, they played in college together at LSU. And if everybody remembers, one of the greatest teams of all time, 2019 LSU, went undefeated. Defense wasn't the best, but their offense was something special.
Yeah, their defense didn't have to be the best. Their defense just had to do like they did in that Texas game where it was back and forth, but they made one more stop than their offense. Now, to be fair, that was literally the closest game that LSU had all year. I mean, they were jumping out that year, 21-0 before you had a chance to blink. It'll always be hard to know where the totality of that team was in the lexicon of the great teams because the offense was so much better than anybody else that year. The defense never really got a chance to show it was good or not, which, I mean, if you're winning a championship, that's what you love.
Yeah, I remember them when they played at Alabama, and then that's when I realized, oh, this offense is special because they went up and down on the Crimson Tide, and they won by double digits, they won by 2 scores. And I just after that, I was like, okay, this team is unstoppable. I don't know what's going on because this team was kind of just okay. I think they were like 8-4, 9-3 the year prior. But, they had Joe Burrow. They had Jamar Chase. They had this guy named Justin Jefferson. I don't know what happened to him since then.
He's okay.
And they had Thaddeus Moss, Randy's son. So, they had a really stacked offense. And then they had Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who, okay, yeah, we know what he did in the pros, but in college he was a pretty solid running back. Yeah. Anyway, 7-7 Cowboys, or 7-7 tied. Under 3 minutes left in the first.
Like you said, though, for Dallas, I mean, this is a solid start. You haven't, Cincinnati went down and scored on you, but you got them with 3 out the first time. You got them in 3rd and longs multiple times here. And again, this is an offense when you play, you're going to have to accept. You're just going to give those up. It hasn't been like it was against the Saints or Baltimore, sort of. Baltimore, their style of offense just doesn't take advantage of what Dallas does wrong. I mean, they still ran for 280 yards, but they still don't hit, it never, even when that game got to be 1 possession. And I know I say that as part of that's how, Dallas isn't as bad as people think they are this year. They're not great, but I mean, they did get into 1 possession against Baltimore. And if they'd have got the ball, I feel like they could have scored because they had figured some things out in the second half. But the problem is they still weren't stopping Baltimore whenever Baltimore needed a first down. And at least right now, it looks like they're competitive in this game defensively.
Man, I never really thought Baltimore missed one player until Patrick Queen left to go to Pittsburgh because when they got, they had Patrick Queen defending the pass. They had the guy they got from Chicago.
Rohan. Knights of Rohan, we ride it on. Sorry, Lord of the Rings.
He took care of so it was a great combination. And you had Mike McDonald, the defensive coordinator at the time, now the Seattle Seahawks head coach. You had one linebacker focusing on the run defense. You had one linebacker focusing on the pass defense. It was a great combo, and the Baltimore defense overall last year was really, really good. Now you're seeing Patrick Queen in Pittsburgh, and that defense looks lights out. Like, I would be petrified having to game plan to score on that defense. They look really good. They're turning the ball over. But yeah, Baltimore's like missing something on that defense, and I really think it's Patrick Queen. He was always a guy that was viewed as liability because he was not the best run defender. But you put him on a team that has great nose tackle, a great 3-4 edge rusher. That they're basically telling you, don't worry about the rush, or the running game. Just take care of the passing game. And man, just Pittsburgh is kind of my dark horse in the AFC. It's kind of a shame because, like, if you look at the AFC, you have Kansas City, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Baltimore. Those are 4 really good teams, and 2 of them are not going to make it to the championship game. That's a kind of a crying shame.
Okay, I'm not talking record. I still don't think Pittsburgh's a good team. I think they're an okay team. I think they're an okay team that, we've seen them look when you lose to teams, and I know Dallas is better now, but I'm talking about when they were, where they were. You lose to teams like Dallas. And who else did they lose to that was pretty bad?
Colts.
Huh?
Colts and the Browns.
Yeah, the Browns, the snow game. And I know the Browns. Okay, maybe not. You keep defending the Browns like, oh, but, they're still pretty bad. Like they look like, in fact, against Pittsburgh yesterday, they look like crap. But I still think Pittsburgh is a okay team. Now, I do agree with you. I could see a path for them to get to the AFC title game. The AFC is really, really weird, man, because every team that's in the playoff hunt is good, but I don't think they're all as good as we thought they were. Every team, whether it be the coaching for Buffalo, the defense for the Ravens, the just weirdness of the inconsistency for the Chiefs, for Pittsburgh, you still just can't trust them. I'm trying to think of other teams that are Houston. Houston is like, they really remind me of like 2016 Dallas. CJ Stroud is looking so much like 2016 Dak, where he just hasn't adjusted to what other teams are doing against him. They haven't figured out the next, how do we adjust to that? I think they will. And I think Joe Mixon, in fact, I still feel like Houston with the right path might be the most dark horse team, because if they'll feed the ball to Joe Mixon 30 times, they could go on a playoff run.
Kind of like what the Eagles are doing with Saquon Barkley.
I still don't trust them, man. Oh, we got a big run for the Cowboys down the sideline. Is that Lamb all the way inside the 25? Wow, he's hurt. I know he's up. He's up. Ooh, he's hurt, though. And he still celebrates. Boy, Lamb, everybody wants to talk about Lamb like he's having a down season. The dude, leads the league in receptions, and now he's having a huge game tonight.
Great start for CeeDee Lamb. The Cowboys are almost in the goal or a red zone territory.
Wow. Dude, this is an amazing play. He caught a wide receiver screen on the right hash, cut across the field Marcus Allen style, and caught the Bengals over pursuing.
He's not running with the Knight or Holy Toledo.
Holy Toledo.
Man, so what's my train of thought? What are we going to talk about? Oh, Houston and Philadelphia. So, yeah, I really think Houston should just put it on Joe Mixon's back, because I really think with their pass rush with Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson, kind of just do that. Like, just be more aggressive on defense. You have a pretty solid secondary. Run it with Mixon. Mixon still has some legs in him. And then, going back to Philadelphia, they're 11-2 or 11-2. They're not passing the ball well
at all. They had 150 yards yesterday or something like that.
It was pretty bad, and there's a concern to me because, Goddard was out, but their backup Calcaterra, I think he scored a touchdown.
Yeah,
he's a solid number 2 tight end. You have a big playmaker in Devontae Smith, 2020 Heisman Trophy winner. You have A.J. Brown, a big number 1 receiver. And I just don't see how Jalen Hurts is struggling in the passing game. I don't know what's going on with him and Kellen Moore and the wide receivers, but for the kudos to Moore because he's devised a plan where they're just focused on Saquon Barkley and they're running the ball and they have the great offensive line. They have a good enough offensive line where they can do that. But I just don't know how long it's going to last. And I think we'll have a good indicator this week, week 15. One of the big games this week outside of Buffalo and Detroit is going to be Pittsburgh at Philadelphia. And I kind of want to see how Saquon does against Pittsburgh's defense.
That'll be an interesting test. Speaking of Saquon, speaking of Joe Mixon, speaking of running backs in general, one of the pages that I'm on, somebody presented an argument, and it wasn't from them, it was from a media member, that they felt Derrick Henry will be the last Hall of Fame running back for a while. I kind of feel like Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley still have plenty of time in their careers. Now, Christian's starting to get up with the injury thing. And I know Barkley had that for the first couple of years, but Barkley's now been healthy 3 of the last 4 years. But I present, and you and I have had the Zeke Elliott talk. I don't think he'll get to 10,000, unfortunately. I think that's, and he wouldn't have got in anyway, but that used to be the mythical thing. And it's kind of funny that we don't value the running back as well, but then also we're not valuing a running back that got 10,000 yards. Like, that makes no sense to me. That, to me, if you're not valuing what the running back does as far as stats, then 10,000 becomes a special number, because I don't think we'll see a lot of running backs hit that going forward. But I think people are sleeping on Joe Mixon. That dude's got like 6,000 yards. He's 28. He's built to where he's not a guy that's he hasn't been injury prone. He's missed games, but he's not an injury prone guy. I think he at least has 4 more years, and again, running backs fall off a cliff whenever they get old instantly. But I think Joe Mixon could end up with about 10,500 yards.
Yeah. So right now, Mixon is 28. He was born in July of 1996.
Was I close to the yards?
7,299. So
that's not counting that. That's not counting this year. I mean, what I was saying wasn't counting this year, because I literally was looking this up. I was going to bring this up in the offseason about I think we were going to do a show about like what players moving would be the biggest impact. And I remember looking at him and I was like, damn, like that dude's got way more yards than I even imagined. And now he's having in a normal era, to be fair, him and Derrick Henry would be 1 and 1A for MVP this year, in my opinion, over all quarterbacks. I don't give a shit about what position you play, but we know this era, that's not going to happen. And not that Josh Allen doesn't deserve it or Lamar Jackson, but I think Henry and Mixon have been huge impacts on their team. And especially because they're going to new teams, you see how they've altered those offenses.
Yeah. When Derrick Henry got to Baltimore, the Ravens basically said, okay, Gus Edwards and
interception. Cooper
in the red zone. Oh, that's terrible.
Pass. He was trying to hit CeeDee Lamb on a slant. And by the way, when I mean terrible, I don't mean this is on Cooper Rush. He's throwing to a spot on the slant, and Lamb kind of got diverted. You can make the case. Let's see. Well, they're not going to show the whole route. Let's see if the ball's caught.
So, say,
no, that ball hit the ground. That's going to be incomplete. That ball hit the ground. It's going to be third down.
Geno Stone, he was a Raven last year. I think he was tied with Deron Bland for the interception lead, if I'm mistaken. I'll have to look it up. But
Cooper missed a huge touchdown. Basically, they were running a fake rub route. Watch. Lamb gets taken out, and Ferguson is wide open on that wheel route. That should have been a touchdown. But this ball did hit the ground. This will be a third down. You can see it right there.
Any touchdowns and any turnovers are reviewed.
Wait, what? Are you telling me they're not going to review that?
I guess
or they're
not.
saying that was good? Wow.
So I take it back. Deron Bland did lead the league in interceptions last year. Geno Stone was second with 7.
I am really shocked that this is not being reviewed.
maybe it's one of those that has to
That
be
hit the
challenged.
ground. Are you seeing it? Can you see it?
They're doing replays right now, so I'm thinking at some point McCarthy might have to throw the red flag and challenge that. I mean, he does want to keep his job, right?
Wow. Wow. This is a big mistake by Dallas not to throw the flag themselves. I don't care what they told them. I don't understand how that's not an incomplete pass.
Oh, well, it's a missed opportunity. This is where now, for better or worse, I think this is where Cincinnati's going to start taking over, and they're probably going to go on a 94-yard drive and get a touchdown, and that's going to be all she wrote. And then they'll just, the flood works.
I mean, you can't do it if you lose this game because technically you could go still 9-8. But this is the line in the sand game for me because Dallas isn't going to win out. But this is the line in the sand game for me, just as a fan, that if they lose this game, I don't want them to win many more. I want them to go ahead and just lose out, and let's go ahead and get that. If they win this one, you still have that dream, get in the playoffs. It's a fun story. I think it would lead to a lot of 100% positivity going into next year. I think maybe that kick starts the front office to go, hey, you know what? If we wouldn't have effed around so much in the offseason last year, we might have had a better team built around where when Cooper stepped in, there wouldn't have been as much of a drop-off. But if they lose this game, I'd rather just reload. But I still contend, I think Mike McCarthy's still in contention for next year. And I'll be fair, I think Mike Zimmer is starting to prove that his defense, they're starting to figure a lot of it out.
So far in this game, I'm very impressed with Mike Zimmer's defense. Third week in a row, I've been impressed. Now, the bar was very low, which is very sad to say because, you and I both loved Mike Zimmer from back in the day when he was the Cowboys defensive coordinator and Cincinnati's head coach and Minnesota's head coach. But, this defense up until 3 weeks ago, they were pretty much garbage. And, maybe they're getting healthy. Or maybe Zimmer's doing something different, or
they're just getting used to what they run. Again, we talked about that. I don't think people that don't play the game or know about systems and schemes, they don't understand what a difference, and especially on defense, just because 90% of a lot of the rules on offense are going to be the same from team to team. The numbering might be different. You might turn your routes in a little bit shorter in some schemes and things like that. But defense, we're talking about completely revamping a position to where under Dan Quinn, your defensive ends only rushed up and they didn't really set the edge, to all of a sudden now you don't rush up. You're only setting the edge, and that muscle memory, it takes time for you to get used to that. And so as a player, if you're used to rushing up and not setting the edge, and you take one false step and go, oh crap, I got to set the edge. Well, that one false step allows that big play to happen. And I think they're getting better at that. Now, in saying that, it still was against the Washington offense that has started to sputter and the Giants, who are absolutely terrible.
Man, that was such a good play by the Bengals, getting Eric Kendricks, our linebacker, on Chase. He is not the best cover linebacker.
He's been a little disappointing overall this year.
But you thought that, okay, he decided to come to the Cowboys instead of the 49ers. He took a cheap deal. He liked Mike Zimmer from his days with the Vikings. I thought it was a good move. So far, he's been okay, but he is a liability in the pass defense.
Oh, and he was in Minnesota too.
Yeah.
It helped him that he had Harrison Smith behind him. In basketball terms, think of it as Dirk when he got what's his name as the center for the championship year.
Tyson Chandler.
Yeah, it completely allowed Dirk to be a different defender because one thing people never give Dirk credit enough for, Dirk was real good in the passing lanes. He was real good about getting steals. And
by the way, man, hey, the Mavericks this year with two solid centers, they look pretty dangerous.
Yeah, Dallas looks like, we all wondered if they were going to, was last year going to be like it was 2 years ago when they made the West Finals, and then the next year just kind of went. We didn't know how this year was going to be. This year, it looks like they're building on that, and the thing that's big for them is Luka is happy, and Luka feels like they're trying to build. There was some questions before last year. Is Dallas doing right. Now we got a flag on the play. Let's see. There's going to be a huge flag right here.
Right now, the Western Conference, the top 4 teams are separated by 2.5 games. The Mavericks are on a 7-game tear. They've won games without Luka, which is a big positive. And like I told you, I did call this. I told you Houston is going to be a team that's going to calling the Bengals. See, it looks like their left guard
67.
Holt. Oh yeah, and you know what? That is smart because you got to put as a defensive tackle. If you feel like you're being held, put your hands up.
Yep.
Let the referee see you so they can see the hold. Great.
You have to balance it though. If you do it too much, then they're like, dude, you just got to fight through that.
That's a fair point.
All right.
3rd and 13. Ball at the 46. Burrow's back to pass. Under pressure. Throws.
They'll go for this.
Caught by Higgins.
I'm a little ahead of you.
4th and short.
Yeah, they're going to go for it.
They might as well. They're close to midfield. Their offense is humming. Now, there's 2 schools of thought. You can keep going for it if your offense is in a flow, or you could get your punter out there, pin your opponent inside the 10-yard line, and kind of put some pressure on them.
Nobody does that anymore.
I feel if you have a good punter and you have a good defense, I think that's not the worst strategy, just because you can pin them. You can because offenses are nervous.
When short and incomplete. The Dallas defense once again holds the Bengals. Go ahead and book those reservations for the Super Bowl. No, sorry.
The Marvin Overshown, former UT linebacker with the big
from
play.
ARP, Texas. From little 3A ARP, Texas. The ARP Tiger. He has been a shining bright spot. Him and Parsons health. I still contend. I like Zimmer. I like I like where the defense is going, but I still contend, even without Overshawn, if you just had Parkins needs to be in a 3-4. If you put Parkins in a 3-4, he is Dallas's TJ Watt. And I've always said I love TJ Watt, and I'm not saying that Taco was the right choice, but TJ Watt would not be the player he is in a 4-3 defense. That doesn't mean he would be bad. He would still be really, really good. But his impact is he's so good in the pass rush. He's so good in other facets. You don't know what he's doing. Like, you rarely have a true outside rush linebacker in a 4-3. I mean, it can be done, but like, I can't think of any 4-3 outside linebacker that was known for their pass rush.
Yeah, I have to think about it, but yeah, I can't really think of one linebacker that would have been in a 4-3. And I'm assuming everybody that's listening knows what a 4-3 defense is, but for those that don't, 4-3 just means the first number is the number of linemen, 4 linemen. The second number, 3, is the number of linebackers. So,
and in a 3-4, it's opposite. You got 3 down linemen, you got 4 backers. The balance of is the 4-3. Is it, I don't want to say you're better against the run, because 3-4 defenses can be amazing against the run, but your defensive line is your dominant thing. And what their job is to do on a 4-3 is to protect linebackers. So they cover the blocks, the linebackers flow. In a 3-4, you have more linebackers, but you're exposing them more. The middle linebackers, the middle 2 mostly. That's why, Ray Lewis was great in a 3-4, good in a 4-3, and then got great again when they switched back to the 3-4. That was a really stupid decision to go 4-3 with Ray Lewis. I think Micah Parsons is a obvious 3-4. DeMarcus Ware, TJ Watt, whatever, Lawrence Taylor, all those 3-4 guys. That's where Micah Parsons belongs.
Yeah, and I think that might happen next season. You got DeMarvin Overshown could be on one side, Micah Parsons on the other. Definitely need 2 more linebackers. I'm not sure how that's going to work.
Linebackers. You got to have good, strong inside linebackers. That's why Levon Kirkland was great in a 3-4. If you'd have put him in a 4-3 where he had to cover more space sideline to sideline, he would not have been a good line. He would have been a defensive lineman probably.
Yeah, most likely, because he was a big linebacker. I'm trying to think of other guys from back in the 90s that were pretty big.
Yeah. Levon Kirkland, it wasn't a true Chris Berman nickname. But he said the thing that I say all the time now. He talked about Levon Carter. I mean, he was trying to pick up a scoop, and he was like kicking it, and he's like the only guy within 10 yards. So he kind of kicked it a few times. And Berman said he looked like Fatty Boom Batty. And I for 20 years now because of that. Fatty Boom Batty. But yeah, so by the way, good defensive stand for Dallas as they're able to take their turnover and not allow the Bengals to convert. It's 9:22 left in the second quarter. It's 7-7. Speaking of $700 million is kind of where the Juan Soto contract's going to technically fall. It can go as low as what, 650, as high as 800. Look, I'm 1,000% with the make as much money as you can. And if he can get that, great. But is Juan Soto a $800 million guy?
The market says he is. He's 26 years old. He's the most sought after. Huh?
The 26 is a huge plus. I mean, you're getting a guy that is technically pre-prime. And look, I'm not saying by Dwaddle having a look. Rico Dwaddle's starting to make a case to show why he might be your number one going forward. And dude, how great would that? And this is what we do when we watch the game. We bounce back and forth. How great would that be for Dallas if they don't have to burn a draft pick on a running back?
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
Or you're picking up a 5th round pick for a second guy. You do need 2. We're in that era now. Hell, I think maybe you can go with 3 if you draft right. But man, if Rico keeps doing this, and by the way, this is behind a revamped line. And if this line keeps playing well, I think Dallas might tell Zach Martin, hey, buddy, you can retire or you can go Tyron Smith. We need that money back.
I would love Martin back for one more year because I really feel this nucleus, they have a lot to prove. Kind of like Micah Parsons, he's so positive about this team going forward. I do feel like there are pieces there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, we can talk about who they've beat, but the point remains this is a 5-7 team without their starting their guy, and also didn't have Brandon Cooks for 4 weeks. Micah Parsons was out for 4 weeks. DeMarcus Lawrence has been out, and it sucks because it felt like DeMarcus Lawrence, the way he started with 3 sacks in 2 games, it felt like you were about to get that last great year from a really, really good player. And the injuries just completely cut that. I don't know if he's completely year over. I think technically he can be back. I think they're going to see where they're at standings wise.
I think the Cowboys in the offseason, depending on, it really doesn't matter how this season ends. I know they're not going to win a Super Bowl, but I think in the offseason
no, I'm kidding.
I think, or you want to make a $3 million bet like that one dude did?
He won his 4,000. He bet $3 million that the Eagles would beat the Panthers. He was so sure about that bet. Yeah. That dude was butt crunching that because, folks, there is no valid reason to make a $1 million bet or $3 million bet to win 400,000. That's foolish. Like, I like to bet. I bet really small numbers. I do like every other guy. I bet the parlays, but I don't bet game parlays all the time. I bet individuals, and that's actually the fun one. Like Gus Edwards to get a touchdown, blah, blah, blah. And I've won on a couple of those this year and won some solid money, but I've lost so much, too, that I'm literally just – I haven't lost technically – my total that I started with on the year, but I also really haven't made a profit. It drains. I hit one big one, but to make a $3 million bet to win 400,000, I want to know the story behind that one.
Yeah, I think it wasn't it Mattress Mac dude, the guy from Houston?
Oh no, I didn't know that. I thought it was just a random dude. Was it?
It might have been. For some reason, I thought it was Mattress Mac.
It might have been. He does those crazy bets. The Cowboys kick a field goal, so with 6:23 left in the second quarter.
Brandon Aubrey.
Yep, the Cowboys lead 10-3. And on that note, we're going to make this segment brought to you by Lazy Dog Kettle Corn. If you want the best snacks for football, for Christmas parties, for hanging out, then please go to 5gfarmtexas.com/shop, and you will get the best kettle corn that you find. And the great thing is they've done this for us. We have 3 packages that are brought to you by L4 Media. That's the L4 Media pack. That's pig skins. And I'm going to tell you this, and Noe doesn't eat pork, but their pig skins, they're pork rinds. I call them pig skins in East Texas. We a little backwards back there, but their pork rinds are amazing. They are all their flavors are absolutely amazing. You have the Outdrink the Coverage pack. That's where you get to go pick a few different flavors you want. And then the Sideline to Sideline pack. Again, go to Lazy Dog Kettle Corn on Facebook. Go to their website, 5gfarmtexas.com/shop. They are the sponsor for this segment of Outdrink the Coverage. As that is, if you're joining us in the middle, so I still have the radio rules. And radio rules, you're supposed to reset what you're doing every so many minutes. And sometimes I still want to do that, even though if you've clicked on the show, you absolutely know what this is. If you haven't, good on you for just being like, what's this? Click. Oh, this is awesome. Because that's how I find YouTube stuff. But anyway, the Cowboys and the Bengals, 10-7, the Cowboys lead. This is Outdrink the Coverage Monday Night Football watching party. And so far, this has been a fun game. I'm like you. I'm impressed, but I also realize, this means we're about to get kicked in the balls, aren't we? This is going to be one of those.
It could very well be one of those. So far, it's playing like I was thinking it was going to play. Cowboys will hang for like the first half.
Can you hang?
I can.
You sure? You need a nap there, buddy?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm kind of worried about the second half, though. I really think that Cowboys are giving their best effort. They're throwing their punch. It's like a heavyweight fight. That one guy gets a really good shot in, but it really doesn't make an effect, which kind of signals that you're not going to probably end this fight standing up.
That's a good point. But now I do want to say this. You and I are big. You and I have always, for some reason, both of us, the Bengals are one of those teams that you and I were like, man, I've always liked the Bengals. Me too. That's one of those things that kind of bonded us and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And it's been fun to watch them and what they've done over the last 5 years from being, they were a solid team in the 80s, a laughingstock from the 90s to the Marvin Lewis era. And then they kind of became Dallas. They were 8-8, 10-6, get beat in the first round. 8-8, 10-6, get beat in the first round. Sometimes it's because they played bad. Sometimes they had bad luck, like a cheap shot tearing Carson Palmer's knee and like the second play of a playoff game. And so I've always liked them. And so I follow them from afar. And as great as this Bengal offense can be, this Bengal offense can also just have games where, they only score 17 against the Giants. They only score 17 against the Eagles. And so their offense can be very hit or miss. And that is part of the reason why they are in this issue where the Bengals right now, they're third in the North. They're 4-8. And with how this AFC is going to end up, they're going to have to almost win out to make the playoffs. They can get in 8-9, but they're going to need some help on that because the Chargers and the Broncos aren't going away. And that's two of your wild cards right there.
And as of right now, the wild cards in the AFC are all 8-5. So number 8 is the Indianapolis Colts. They're 6-7. They're 2 games back in the loss column. It's going to be a tough stretch. Anyone that's not in the playoff or not in the top 7, they're going to need a lot of help because that's at least 2 games to make up for the 8 and 9 seeds. And then for Cincinnati, who's 4-8, that's 3 games you're going to have to make up with 5 weeks to play. So, yeah, this to me is a must win. I don't think a losing record is going to make the playoffs. And
I don't even know if 9-8 will.
Yeah, that too. Like I'm looking at, just for example, I think the Chargers will at least get to 10 wins. The Chargers are usually not going to be a team that's going to drop a bad game this year. The Harbaugh is just such a good coach.
Well, we think. Let's see. We'll have to figure that out.
Okay, so I'm looking at the Broncos. They have 4 games left. They have 2 home games. They host the Colts next week, who are 6-7, and in the playoff hunt, they go to LA to play the Chargers. They go to Cincinnati to play the Bengals. And then they end the season against the Chiefs. That might be a meaningless game for the Chiefs. Who knows?
Good point. That's right. Shit.
It could be a situation where the Broncos finish 2-2, and then they end the season 10-7. I really think 10 wins is going to get you in the playoffs in the AFC.
I don't think either the Chargers or the Broncos completely collapse. So that means you're going to have the Ravens collapse, and I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, honestly, maybe the Bengals already might be done, dude. Even if they win out 9-8, they still will need somebody of the 3, 8, and 5s to collapse. And that's not counting a Dolphin team that if they went out, they're 10-7.
Yeah. Dolphins, I think they're the one team that's out of the top 7 that have a legit shot at making the playoffs. I'm looking at the Chargers schedule. Their next 2 games are going to be pretty tough, but they're both at home. They host the Buccaneers and they host the Broncos. But their last 2 games at New England, at Vegas, very winnable. I think they're a team that can at least get to 10 wins, possibly 11. So I think both the Broncos and Chargers are projected, in my opinion, to make the playoffs. But then that's where you got to look at the Ravens. They're the number 5 seed right now as it stands today.
You want to play them when they're the number 5 seed? Jesus Christ.
I feel bad for Houston if that's what it ends up happening.
Good point. So as much as I said earlier, we talked about Houston could be a dark horse. As of now, how the season ends and their possible matchups, they just don't match up well with any of the good teams in the AFC right now. They're not far off. I'm not trying to claim like, oh, they're terrible. But when you look at their matchups in the first round, who they would play, I mean, you really want to play a Charger team that their run defense and their pass rush is their strength. And the one thing that the Texans silently people aren't really talking about is the offensive line has not been as good as what people thought it would be. Do you want to play a Bronco team that people need to realize the Broncos, Bo Nix is getting all the talk, but that defense is back. Like, it's way better than it was last year. Or the Ravens, who I still contend their defense is way better than they're playing. And I know that sounds weird, and I'm not saying they'll fix it, but I still feel that I could see them going on a stretch here where they give up 14 points or less in the next 4 games type of deal.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at the remaining schedule for the Ravens. They play at the New York Giants. Should be a win. They
Touchdown Bengals. Or wait, are they going to say he was out of bounds? He might be out at the 1.
Chase Brown. Oh,
yeah, they're saying he's out at the 1, I think. And I think he was.
Oh, Chase Brown might get fined for that one.
You remember they rescinded the ones for the Cowboys, so they probably won't. Let's see. He is.
Anyway, going back to the Ravens.
Oh, that might be a touchdown.
Let's see. Chase Brown. Boom. Boom. Yes, a touchdown.
Well, it depends on where the ball is. It's not the feet. The feet getting in don't mean nothing. Yeah, that's a touchdown. Good play by Brown.
Yeah.
Real good play by Brown.
Ravens, final 4 games. They play at the Giants. They host the Steelers. They go to Houston. They host the Browns.
Well, no, there we go. The Houston. We'll get a in-season look at what could be easily a first-round playoff matchup. Because I don't know. As much as I was knocking the Steelers, it is really hard with 4 games left to make up 2 games. And the Ravens have to make up. Actually, didn't they lose to the Steelers earlier this year?
Yes.
So they technically have to make up 3 games.
Yeah.
I'm reading that right? They're 2 games back in the loss column. So, yeah, they need the Steelers to completely collapse.
Well, the Steelers have their toughest stretch now because they go to Philadelphia, they go to Baltimore, and they host the Chiefs. And they end the season hosting the Bengals.
Ooh. So, yeah, never mind. The Steelers easily, and I'm not knocking them, even though I still feel that I don't trust in them, but they could lose those 3 games and still be a good team. Like, they could still be a team that if you get in the play. But, man, dude, wow.
Yeah, exactly. So Baltimore might not end up being the 5 seed. They might end up being a 3 seed, possibly a 2, depending on how Buffalo responds their final 4 games. Let me go to Buffalo. Buffalo ends the season. They go to Detroit, the biggest game of the year so far. This weekend, they host the Patriots, they host the Jets, and then they go to the Patriots. So Buffalo is probably only losing 1 game max going forward. So I see them finishing 13-4 at bare minimum, possibly 14-3 if things go right in Detroit. But
well, let's turn our attention. We started talking about them earlier. The Dolphins. So the Dolphins have the Texans next Sunday. Okay. Then the Niners, the Browns, and the Jets. So the Dolphins need to win 3 out of 4 at worst.
Yeah,
at worst, they really need to win out because again, that they're 2 games behind anybody else in the wild card chase. They're not catching the Bills, so they're 2 games behind in the wild card. So they need to win out, really. But that's not a schedule they can't win out. I mean, the Niners are not the Niners this year. Injuries, whatever you want. I contend injuries are a massive part, but I don't think it's the only part. I think the Niners, just that run starting to, it needs to be refreshed. But I also could see the Dolphins losing the next 2 because, again, the Texans are still a good team. Man, the Dolphins, and we got to be paying attention to them the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I mean, after week 16, we'll have a better clue if they're going to actually make the playoffs. But yeah, I could see the Dolphins winning bare minimum 3 out of 4, and then finishing 9-8, and then making it interesting. But yeah, I could see them going to Houston this weekend and winning too. It's in good weather condition wise. It's fine, so you can take advantage of your speedy offense. And then playing the 49ers at home is a West Coast team traveling to the East Coast for a 3:00 game. Perfect. But the final 2 games, I think that Cleveland game might be a trap game. It's a Sunday night game that might get flexed out. It's on December 29th in Cleveland.
It will.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd say it will. It might not, because if the Dolphins are win and get in type, but I kind of feel like even if they are.
Yeah. I think in the last game they go to the Jets. I think that's a win. I think the Jets are in looking into 2025 mode at this point. They need to get a coach, and honestly, they really need to get another quarterback. They have 2 solid running backs. They have receivers. They have a lot of pieces. Their defense needs to be. I don't know what needs to happen with that defense, but as soon as Robert Saleh got fired, their defense was trash. So I'm not sure what they got to do there, but
dude, the Jets, they are. I mean.
I can't complain about the Cowboys being dysfunctional, because I look at the Jets, I'm like, oh, okay, I guess it's not that bad.
Exactly. And again, that's been my whole thing. Like, even though the Dallas has been bad this year, they've struggled. Their roster got bad on them overnight. There really hasn't been a lot of dysfunction. Like, you can make the comment of what Micah said about Mike McCarthy a few weeks ago. I think people really misunderstood what he was saying. He was basically saying, look, Mike McCarthy can go anywhere he wants, and Zach Martin is locked in with a contract. I hate to see a guy like him, who's bled for the Cowboys, not get a chance to make a Super Bowl. And Kevin McPherson in our chat said it best. Nice to watch a competitive game this late in the first half. Yeah, I mean, honestly, we even said at the beginning of the show, like, hey, this is a game that we very well could peace out by now. I'm enjoying this. I'm engaged with it. I'm actually following it. And Dallas, I mean, they at least look like a competent football team right now.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with how the Cowboys are doing on both sides of the ball. It sucks seeing Chase Brown score that touchdown on them, but overall their defense is not played terrible. I have a lot of respect for the Bengals offense. They can score at
he was
will.
out of bounds right there. Jeez, man. A couple calls not going the way of the Cowboys. I don't know about that one. I still think the other one was a drop pass. Or interception. I really don't understand why that. Oh, almost another interception. I really don't understand why that wasn't reviewed more. I don't care if I'm Mike McCarthy, because you can throw a flag after a turnover if they don't review it good. And you say, no, I want a closer look. I think he should have went with a closer look right there.
Yeah, I really thought he was going to challenge that, but I don't know.
I hate the sideline caps this year, by the way.
So top 3 needs for the Cowboys 2025.
New GM, new coach, new GM, and new coach. That's my 4.
The reason why I said that is because I'm looking at Jonathan Mingo. I'm like, we really do need a number 2 receiver. And I really thought Cooks was that guy.
That was a stupid trade, by the way. Not getting him, but giving a freaking 4th.
Yeah.
I don't understand Jerry in that 4th. He gave up a 4th for Trey Lance, who we're going to let walk. There's no way you keep him over Cooper Rush. Kevin McPherson said it best. They need a dog at defensive tackle. 100% agree. They need defensive line.
We've been saying that for years.
This offensive line might be taking a shape that is not expected, but I think might be needed. I still believe that in the long run, look, sorry, Terrence Steele, you had an injury. You just haven't been the same. Kind of like What's the linebacker? Jalen Smith. Kind of like, other players. Michael Gallup, just not the same after a knee injury. I kind of believe, dude, kick Tyler Guyton to the right. Put him back at his natural position. Kick Tyler Smith to the left tackle. He can be a left tackle, or draft another left tackle, or sign a starting left tackle. Because this offensive line over the last few weeks, and this has been, look, the Giants are bad, but their defense is actually low-key pretty solid. Cooper Rush gets sacked on 3rd and 11. I think we're starting to kind of see the bow break, as they say, for the Cowboys. But I think this offensive line is closer to where people think. And if you bring Zach Martin back and he's 100% healthy, that's perfectly fine. But they need defensive line. They need linebackers, and then they got to figure out the running back and the depth on the wide receiver.
Man, I wish there was a low-key free agent rental we could get like a couple years ago when Ashawn Robinson was available. He was like $2 million a year. He would have been perfect as a defensive tackle.
Dude, look at what Dante Fowler's doing in Washington.
Crazy.
He is finally becoming the first-round pick that the Atlanta Falcons drafted. And give Quinn credit. He's always stuck by him. He was solid in Dallas. He didn't have to take as many snaps as Dallas. He's having to take more snaps in Washington, and he's been well. He has 9 sacks right now. But yeah, you don't need to draft a defensive tackle high unless it's a special player. That's a rental position. Get some meat. Hell, Hankins from the Raiders? That's exactly what he did. He came in for Dallas for a year and a half, and he provided meat on the defensive line. Speaking of, one day we're going to have to do a show about how Russell Maryland, one of the worst number 1 picks in the history of the league that nobody talks about because they won Super Bowls. And so nobody remembers that was a terrible pick by Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, they won in spite of that pick.
Maryland was bad. Maryland was a very, very, very good defensive tackle. He made a couple Pro Bowls, but the value. Hang on. By the way, I didn't realize I don't watch Pat McAfee, so I didn't realize that he kind of does a thing like I do with the butt. Not quite like I do it, but he has a thing called not overrated butt, and the way he says "but" at the end's kind of. But as I always say, they could have won without Russell Maryland as the number 1 pick. They still would have won no Super Bowls. He was good, not great. Partially because he was in a rotation where he wasn't needed. You had so many other guys, especially those first 2.5 years. But yeah, I always laugh when people talk about, Jimmy Johnson, the master talent evaluator, master draft. He traded a supplement pick for Steve Walsh, who only got bailed out because New Orleans was stupid enough to give, I think, 2 picks for him. And then he gave a number 1 for Russell Maryland.
Yeah. I wouldn't. Think about Jimmy Johnson in Miami trying to recreate what he did with the Cowboys and trying to make Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Dude, to be able to get, in my opinion, Jabbar to be able to get, I think it was 1,200 his top year rushing, and score 17 points a night in the NBA. That's pretty impressive, dude. He was like 33 when he was running for the Fins. Dude, no. Yeah, I always liked him at running back. But yeah, look, Jimmy, I have the audio book of Jimmy Johnson. It's a great book. I've recommended it to you. He's admitted, he couldn't do what he did in Dallas with the salary cap. You just couldn't churn the bottom of that roster like you could in Dallas. There was no threat. He was, look, we can talk about what Jimmy did defensively, but you don't know how much of that is him or his guys with Dave Wannstedt and all them. They basically they didn't create the Tampa 2, but they're the first ones that started doing we'll let our 4 rush. We'll drop everybody back. We need a fast middle linebacker that can cover the lanes, and we're going to get enough turnovers and sacks, or at least pressure, that even if we give up some yards and give up a couple plays, we're going to win that battle 9 times out of 10. Tampa Bay took that and said, hey, what if we put a more athletic linebacker in the middle of that and give us Derek Brooks and Warren Sapp? Now let's do the same thing, and they expanded on that. But the biggest asset of what Jimmy Johnson did was the motivating, the psychology of it. Part of that was fear. And he couldn't do that fear in Miami because dude's like, hey, I'm a 3rd-round pick. I'm guaranteed for 3 years. Get rid of me. I'm still getting my bonus money. Bye. And so he didn't have that fear.
Fear, back in his day, used to be a great motivator. But yeah, now it's a little bit different. It's just what could have been, because those late '90s Miami teams were not the worst. They were always hovering around 8-8, 9-7, 10-6. Uh, I mean, the AFC was still controlled by the Broncos by this point and the Chiefs, but
And, and to be fair, he got a Dan Marino that was at the tail end, broken down, torn Achilles. I mean, hell, players to this day are still Achilles can be a career ender. Back then, you basically were like, you're done. And I think he didn't get quite as much say as he wanted on the roster. You know, it wasn't the same fluid situation. That's why for everybody that blames Jerry Jones, and he takes a lot of blame in the Jimmy Johnson thing, Jimmy Johnson has admitted he deserves a lot of the blame too, because if he'd have just kept his mouth shut, he could have had a Hall of Fame career in Dallas and everybody would have really known who got the credit. I mean, everybody knew who got the credit in the moment, yet Jimmy got mad that Jerry was trying to take the credit. We all knew who got the credit. Jerry got the credit as the owner, letting Jimmy work, signing the contracts, agreeing to the trade. Look, it had to be hard for Jerry Jones to trade Herschel Walker. You're one star guy. The one guy that was bringing people out to watch. The one guy that kept Dallas on Monday Night Football, even though everybody knew they were going to be bad in '88.
yeah,
You could watch Herschel Walker. And so that had to be hard. So you give both credit, and then both of them deserve a lot of the blame on, you know, the getting into the ego boost.
and it's weird because they were best friends in college.
Well,
Best friends, but they
yeah.
were college teammates. They were on the team that won the national championship in '64, Arkansas.
Both were very good players.
They were very solid players. Both went different routes. Jerry Jones went business. Jimmy Johnson went into head coaching. Both successful in their own regard. Come back together. They even agreed. You run the football side. You run the football. I'll run the business side.
Yep.
And it worked for 5 seasons. And then allegedly at a bar in the DFW.
Oh, no, allegedly, they both admit this. This all happened. I mean, there's been, you know, there was Ed Werder was there. But yeah, both sides admit this is exactly how the conversation. Tim Kalishaw was there. But yeah, Jerry got drunk and made the famous, I could have 500 coaches coach this team and they'd win a Super Bowl. He wasn't wrong. The statement in of itself was not wrong. It was acting like Jimmy had nothing to do with the building of why they were so good. A Barry Switzer who was outdated in college 5 years before was able to come in and in 3 years win an NFC or go to the NFC Championship and win a Super Bowl.
As Daryl Moose Johnson said on America's Game for the '95 Cowboys, they won in spite of him.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
now, I will say this. I will say this. And even Aikman, and he might have even said it on that America's Game episode, but he has said it before that the first year with Switzer kind of relieving that discipline pressure was a good thing. You know, the first couple of years that worked because these, you know, even Jimmy's admitted, look, I don't stay places 5 years.
Kind of like with Wade Phillips for 2007 Dallas and 2008 for the most part.
Yeah, I don't think Parcells by that time was as big into what Parcells was in the 80s and even with New England, even with the Jets. I think his age, you got him. Like you talk to like DeMarcus Ware and all them, I remember they talked in the moment like, wow, we didn't realize a 3-4 could be what it is because Wade Phillips was still more at that point. Parcells running everything base. He was still into discipline, but again, salary cap and all that. He couldn't do what he did. But yeah, that's a perfectly fine. I think Wade was a little bit more disciplinary than Barry. Barry was very much, it's really funny because in the real world, Barry's the boss you want. Go do your job. You don't get in my way, I don't get in your way. Just go do your job. That's all I ask for you to do.
Yeah.
That's how, I mean, in theory, this is one of those things I'd always love to talk to Troy Aikman about, like have a conversation like, dude, y'all are adults. Like, why did y'all need Jimmy Johnson to keep you disciplined? You know, that's all weird, you know, but that's how
there were 26-year-old alpha males winning Super Bowls.
Exactly. No, you're right, 100%.
They could get away with anything they possibly. They needed someone to corral them.
That's what P. Diddy said. Hey, did you hear that about Jay-Z, by the way?
What about him?
Well, he's being accused now of raping a minor at one of the Sean.
I'm not shocked at that. Like Beyonce and him have been kind of like scaling back a little bit.
Very true.
So yeah, I already knew that once they started doing that, I was like, oh, so they're also implicated. Same with Ashton Kutcher. I think him and Mila Kunis, his wife, they are probably have a plan that if Ashton is implicated in something, that they'll just do like a divorce or something, and like make sure that all their assets are protected. She's
Like what
protected.
Danny
Kids,
Masterson did.
yeah.
And
So
by the way, Kuchar and Kunis took more flack from standing up for Danny Masterson than anything. You know, there's been a couple rumors on the whole, like, you know, what was Ashton part of it because him and P. Diddy were friends. I will say this, and this is the same thing when people talk about Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was a vile person. Jeffrey Epstein obviously did vile things. Jeffrey Epstein had a lot of friends that did vile things. That doesn't mean everybody that was friends with Jeffrey Epstein did those things as well. So I think some people will catch strays that really probably weren't involved. I'm not saying that's with Ashton. We might find out if Ashton was 100% part of it. I kind of feel like that won't be. They took more flack for standing up for their friend Danny Masterson when he was getting sentenced.
yeah,
God, we talk a lot of weird stuff on this show. I love it.
Man. I'm still just waiting because I think in May there's actually a bit of trial for P. Diddy. So I'm kind of waiting.
He's in jail. I mean, they won't even let him bond out.
I think it was the third time he was denied bail, so he's just going to remain in jail until May, and then they're going to actually have a trial by that point, I think. Bengals going for a field goal. Good, 17-10.
Stand.
Yeah, good defensive stand. 17-10 Bengals with 30 seconds left in the half. But yeah, going back to P. Diddy, I'm just curious to see who all is going to be implicated because I don't think that story's over. I think there'll be more people. I really have a feeling that Oprah is somehow involved in this. Like, I feel like there's a lot of big name people.
Oprah?
Yes, untouchable people that are going to be.
I just want to ask. I mean, and you might be right. I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but like, I don't see Oprah having some secret sex thing with kids. Like that just doesn't.
Yeah, I'm not even saying with kids. It's just like her own private, whatever her fetish is.
Well, if that happens, if more people like her are implicated, does that not kind of validate the whole supposedly crazy right-wing theory? Now, not the whole they drink adrenaline glands of kids or anything like that, but we've been hearing, you know, that's one of the big right talking points is the Hollywood elite sex stuff and pedophilia and rape and all that.
Yeah.
Man, I will say this. If she is involved in any way other than maybe just ignoring it, if she's implicitly involved, that would be the most shocking news story of maybe the last 100 years.
Yeah.
I hope you're right now, just because I really like. No, I don't really hope you're right, but you know what I mean.
Personally, I mean, I hope kids are not, molested or whatever. But I don't think Oprah is involved in that way with the kids. But with her and her friend. That she's always been like a friend of hers over these years, and there's always been a rumor that Stedman is kind of like
the beard
because her and I forgot the lady's name, but
yeah, I know you're talking about.
Yeah, they always had a thing. So it could be something that route where she gets
I believe that. I
indulge in her urges, and it's not like kids, but it could be like women. Well,
that's not a big deal. I mean, as long as there's no assault or rape, if that comes out, I think most people would be like. Okay.
But clearly Oprah wants to keep that hidden if that's what her and old lady are, but there's a lot of other people I'm thinking they're going to, I mean, obviously we know Will Smith has something to do with it. We don't know the exact.
He does?
Yeah. He was, his name was also dropped in it. That I'm not really surprised, but I think
we're learning that. I think we're learning with Jada. There's a lot of openness about that marriage.
Yeah, every year in August, I always gotta do a little toast. Because I think that was the guy's name that she was having relations with, or was being familiar with, so to speak.
I still remember the first time I came across that show, Red Table or whatever it was, where it was her. And I say the first time. The first episode, by the way, Dallas with Brandon Aubrey are trying to put themselves into field goal position. And with him, if you just get to the 50, you can do that. But a big 3rd and 5 with 20 seconds left, the Cowboys have all 3 of their timeouts left. So if you get a first down here, you're definitely in play for a field goal.
I'm at where it's 15 seconds left and it's
Okay.
4th and 5.
Oh, so okay, so you're actually ahead of me now. Oh, but we have a penalty on the Bengals. I'm now at 3 seconds. Weirdly.
Okay, I'm at 10 seconds.
Wait, so
okay.
hang on, let me see. Did Dallas go for it? Or did they punt?
They punted it. In my reality, on my Earth, on my universe, they punted. But there's a flag with 3 seconds left.
So it doesn't matter. Dallas won't get the ball with 3 seconds left on the punt. It'll just be 5 yards back to Bengals and Neil. But anyway, going back to let's go back from football to sexual assault. But no, I don't think I don't know. I don't understand. I don't see how that comes out. The Oprah thing. I don't see how that would be tied to P. Diddy or come out with P. Diddy.
It wouldn't involve kids. It involves something else. But
no,
I'm just thinking this has been so crazy. This whole story.
Oh no, you're right about that. You're right. There's going to be some names, but I also kind of feel like if P. Diddy accepts some kind of plea deal, that tells me he's keeping secrets. Unless it's like a really honey of a plea deal, and we don't really know what true evidence they have. You can joke about the baby oil, you can joke about the dildos, but none of those are illegal.
I think my prediction was going to happen. He's going to walk scot-free.
I kind of think that too, because I think there's going to be a lot of things. Look, in the media, right or wrong, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. Some people take accusations as 100% fact. Yeah. And I think a lot of people are doing that here. And even if it's fact, they've got to have true hardcore proof. Yeah. And I don't know if they will, unless there's tapes, unless people really, really speak and valid, I was there, I saw them, them doing all this. I think there's a good chance he either walks or the DA goes, hey, dude, we'll give you 2 years probation, 2 years or 2 years suspended sentence, 10 years probation. Your career's over. And he's like, okay, I'm a billionaire. Bye-bye. It's going to be really hard to find him guilty. I'm counting on that because if it goes to trial, he's going to hire the best attorneys in the country.
But then again, my prediction is he's going to rat everybody out. But maybe this is more of me wanting to see the most dramatic possible storyline develop because I want to see all these big time A-list celebrities getting arrested, handcuffed, going to jail.
I don't think it's that big. I don't think it's. It would be salaciously, just as a person that the drama part would be fun. I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that. I think there's a lot of people that were involved. And there might be a couple A-listers, but I don't think this is a situation where at a party you've got Tom Hanks and Oprah sexually assaulting a person in one corner and, any name a celebrity A and star celebrity. That's just that would have already come out. And I know there was always rumors, but the rumors on P. Diddy was always more like if you worked with him, it was, it was like he was more sexual to the males. It's funny because that used to be the joke about him and Mace. And then Mace went to religion and kind of went quiet. But now you're hearing that other people what was it? Who was the dude? The comedian that had the big thing with Shannon Sharp.
Williams, Cat Williams.
Cat Williams. Cat Williams was saying it then. A year before any of this happened was like, man, if you knew not to accept the P. Diddy party invite because you weren't it wasn't gonna be pleasant unless that's the way you swing. And he's like, I love Cat, and that and he was talking about that a year ago. And so I think it's gonna be more. I do genuinely think there will be some A-list people involved, but I genuinely think this is gonna be more about P. Diddy and people closer to him. But I still think it's going to be really, really hard to prove. It's always hard to prove this kind of stuff because it becomes he said, she said, and usually whoever pays the most to represent them wins the he said, she said.
Well, now we're at halftime of the Simpsons sponsored Cowboys Bengals Monday night game.
Hey man, if I'm Dallas, I'm happy, dude.
I would be too. This is to me it's kind of a win. But while we're at halftime, what are your thoughts on the United Healthcare CEO murder and a possible arrest?
Well, I mean, he's going to be arrested. It's obvious that it's him. If you don't know, the United Healthcare CEO got gunned down last week, and not broad daylight because it was still kind of dark, but basically broad daylight, like at 7 a.m. The killer is a very smart, or the alleged shooter is very smart, very educated, already a thirst trap because women are weird. Women will talk about all the things that they want done in men and violence, and then a killer has some six packs and they're literally dropping trowel over it online. But I this is tough. I think. Go ahead. You have something to say first?
No, I'm saying like there's a lot of people that are calling him a vigilante, like comparing him to the Punisher in Marvel Comics.
Okay, so here's the thing, folks. The Punisher was not right. The comic and the show do a really good job of showing that. Like, he's fun to watch, but what the Punisher, he crosses the line, especially if you're in, and that's one of the few comics that and you know me, I'm not a big comic. That's one of the few ones that I got into eventually when you could start finding full comic book issues online and you could just flip the page. I would read a lot of them. Like, because I was, even to this day, you've been in my house, I always have my laptop up. If I'm awake, I usually have my laptop up. So that's one of those things. I'd be watching something on TV and I'd be reading The Walking Dead or The Punisher and all that. The Punisher many, many times proves that what he does is wrong. I get the outrage with healthcare. I'm 100% on that. I am not happy with how people are celebrating a guy's murder. And yes, we can talk about the policy issues that he enacted, like the 90% reject AI. That's terrible. That should be punished. But murder, I mean, we keep running closer to that violent edge that I don't think people realize if we cross that line, you don't go back from it until something completely changes. And I don't think we're ready as a country for that.
No, but you understand. I mean, well, you do understand. People's when claims are being denied and they shouldn't be, people really need help and they're not getting help. I can sympathize and understand that just hatred, that pure anger. Yeah, that pure anger. I don't want anyone getting killed, obviously, but I definitely can understand why he did what he did. It shouldn't have resulted in someone getting killed. I don't know if that sends the right message. I don't know if it's going to accomplish the goal he wants to be accomplished, but
I actually, especially if the early rumors are true, and folks, this is all rumors. Also, we're a sports channel, so don't trust us for the news. Apparently, there's a possibility early that he had a couple grandparents die within the last 12 years. He worked at a assisted living facility for a while. He posted things on Twitter and stuff that was very anarchist, very Unabomber. In fact, he thought the Unabomber was a political activist. If it comes out that he's mad because grandparents died, or he's going to get 100%. I mean, he's already got the public sympathy, but he'll definitely get 100% of the sympathy to the point where we go back to P. Diddy. I don't know if you could find a jury that will convict him. We'll find a jury.
Yeah, they'll all be compromised.
They'll all be compromised, or at worst, he gets convicted and gets, even though it's going to be obviously premeditated, obviously cold blood, they let him off with, a very light sentence. So I do think that this could change things. It won't happen immediately. Look, it won't happen immediately. We can talk about political parties. At the end of the day, both sides are very much in the pocket of healthcare. And until that gets fixed, this is just going to be a blip. And I do still think that there's a big chance that this is just a blip, a salacious story that's fun. And look, we have a really short memory as a country now. And maybe we always did. Back then you were given information in parts because you relied on the newspaper, and then you relied on the radio, and then TV, and even TV could be breaking news, but it was breaking news 30 minutes after. Now you get breaking news, boom, immediately as it happens. I mean, I will get notifications of a car because I have Dallas traffic thing. I'll get notifications of a car crash that's happened to where it's 3 minutes ago. So news is instant, but what all that also creates is, oh, well, I forgot. A day later, I forget about that. When back in the day, you would read about the wreck, and then 2 days later, you'd read a bit more about it, and you'd get the whole story. So there's still that part, too, because we're a stupid country right now. I mean, let's be honest, we're a stupid country. And speaking of white people, what are your thoughts on the Dallas Stars as we bounce around? Halftime. You like that?
They're struggling a little bit, but I'm glad they got the big win last night against.
They're not. They're not struggling.
They lost a couple of games in a row. Let's calm down here, sir.
No, but look, I mean, they haven't. Hang on, I'm trying to pull.
Yeah, they beat the Flames 6-2. Yeah, I remember the Stars lost 2 games prior. So yeah, that's struggling. They lost to the Golden Knights 3-2. They lost to the Kings, who are on a roll 3-2.
That was my point, though. The Stars over the last, first off, it's because the West is so damn good. But the Stars, since November 29th, have played the Avalanche, the Jets, Utah, Kings, Knights, and Flames. All but one of those teams have a winning record, and Utah's not a bad team. Utah's actually a solid team this year. So I think the fact that they went 1, 2, 3, they went 4-2 in that stretch, I think that's impressive. But the expectations of the Stars are so high that you're not wrong. The perception is at 17-10, they've had no overtime losses, which is weird because that's been the thing that has hurt them over the last couple of years. They were really good 2 years ago at overtime losses, and then last year they were really bad at it. They really haven't had that opportunity now. But they're outscoring their opponent 92-69. Not as many goals as I think people thought, but also they've battled injuries, and I think we're realizing now Joe Pavelski, he is missed. I mean, they'll eventually figure it out. I do think we got to start asking the question, Jason Robertson, is he just going to turn out to be an okay, solid player that had just a huge year and then is back to average? Because I feel like he hasn't had a real true presence this year.
I think so, but with the Stars, it's just, they have the point differential. They're plus 23. I think the Stars are fine. I think the problem is all these other teams have gotten really good.
Oh yeah, and the West is deep as hell, dude. This year in the hockey. I mean, the West is like the 2 teams that don't make the playoffs could go into the East and be a playoff 3rd round team. And that's not a knock on the East because the East is look. I will make the case that right now, hockey might be at the most competitive it's been.
Yeah, probably since before the lockout 20 years ago. I don't think there's ever been this good. But yeah, I'm just looking at the West right now. Minnesota, they're figuring it out finally. They're always that team that was strong defensively. They could get in as a 2, 3, 4 seed, and then it was flame out in the first round.
Well, and they still probably are that. They've had a great start because of their defense. Their offense has only scored 86 goals on the year. That is 5th best in the Central alone, and we're not even talking about the Pacific. But at least Minnesota's not like Dallas Cowboys because Dallas does it more with offense. But Minnesota is a team that just always feels built for the regular season, and then they just can't quite do it in the playoffs. Yeah,
that is how they come across. But they're doing it the way they've done in years prior.
Exactly.
Good goaltending. Gustafson's in the top 3 in all the big goaltending statistics. But they're adding an offensive element like Kaprizov. He's one of the top point scorer, one of the top 5 goal scorer.
Yeah, their issue offensively is second line and full down. Like they struggle when he's not on the ice.
I'm trying to think right now before 2025 rears its head toward us in a few weeks. Who is the best team right now in hockey? Because I really think even with Alexander Ovechkin out, I think the Capitals are probably the most impressive team so far.
Dude, they rebuilt on the fly. Like, nobody thought that. We all thought Ovechkin was going to probably play a couple more years. Washington would probably get into the playoffs, but they wouldn't be a contender. And then, boom. And they're doing it with offense and not just him. And by the way, he's had I don't want to say renaissance season because it's not like he's ever truly fallen off, but he feels more like Ovechkin of 5 years ago. I think Washington, I think Florida is just a machine right now. Florida is just, man, they're like the opposite of Dallas and all them. They might drop a game against, a Red Wing or the Sabres, but they're going to beat Dallas. They're going to beat Colorado. They're going to beat Washington. They're going to beat New Jersey. I think Dallas still is one of the better teams. I think Winnipeg is starting to kind of wobble a little bit. They went from being 15-2 to 20-9. I think they're 4-6 over their last 10 games. I still don't want to play Colorado in the playoffs. Of course, the Golden Knights, the Kings, and Vancouver. Those are the two teams that will decide to me how deep the West is. Because I don't think Edmonton's there this year. I think Edmonton takes a step back. It just happens. That's just the way that works sometimes. I think the Kings will decide how good the West is.
I love they went back to their old logos. Those look so good, the black and whites. They've had it for a while now, but it just – I hated when they beat the Stars recently, but overall, they won 5 in a row. They're in both divisions in the West are pretty competitive. The Central, where the Stars are in, the Pacific, where the Kings are in, ultra competitive. You got your Vegas team that won recently. You got Vancouver as a young team that's on the rise, on the come up. And you have the Kings, who are far away from their the title teams in 2012 and 2014, but they still have like Kopitar and some of the stalwarts from that era.
And they've built really good depth. I think in the East, will Toronto ever finally stop being Toronto? They're the Dallas Cowboys of hockey.
One of my favorite looks, logos, everything.
Oh, yeah.
I like them since Doug Gilmour was playing for them 20 plus years ago. I've always liked the Maple Leafs. Felix Potvin, the old goaltender from back in the 90s. This team was one of my favorite teams just because I love the blue and white. But yeah, they always find a way to just lose and lose bad.
By the way, is it, we were all big, any Dallas Star fan, even though his time here ended badly, but that was for personal reasons. Everybody agrees that Jim Montgomery is one of the best coaches in hockey on all levels.
Yep.
But we have to address that since Boston has fired him, they've won 60% of their games. They've won 4 in a row. And all of a sudden, this offense that had went to crap is actually starting to look pretty darn good.
Yeah, so it might have been the best decision. I really think when they had some of those great seasons last couple of years that ended in playoff failure, it kind of sealed his fate, unfortunately. He's still a great coach. And I think some other teams should take a crack at him. But
they will. They will. Didn't St. Louis, didn't they bring him in?
Sorry, I thought he was still sitting on the couch. Let's see, Montgomery. Doing a Google search.
He's the head coach. Yeah,
he is the head coach for the St. Louis Blues.
It happened like within 7 days. Like he got fired from and wow. Hey, look, we always talk about like the Dallas Mavericks 2011. That St. Louis Blues Stanley Cup of 2017 is such an outlier now. They haven't went completely bad, but they've never been able to get anywhere close. I think this is their 3rd coach since then. But I like Jim Montgomery. I think if everything wouldn't have happened like it did and what we're talking about is, and Jim Montgomery's openly talked about this, so this isn't some secret. He had a drinking problem. Speaking of, to you, Jim Montgomery. But we don't judge, brother. We don't judge. But no, he had a drinking problem to the point where apparently it got so bad, like some embarrassing stuff was happening. And I think people at first wanted to be salacious, but I think it more of he was probably like falling down drunk at 10 a.m. type of deal. And so he left coaching, got his stuff fixed, went to Boston. Boston had one of the top 5 greatest regular seasons of all time a couple years ago, and then got beat in the first round. Everybody knew it was coming. It wasn't because of him. That was just a regular season built team. I think he'll go to St. Louis and he'll bring them right back. I think he's a great coach. I don't even know where I was going with all that. But hey,
I forgot he was at Denver in college.
Yeah, he won a shit ton of national championships there.
Went to a Frozen Four in 16 and won a championship in 17. It's pretty impressive.
Well, because he did it with a team that wasn't a blue blood of ice hockey.
Right. I mean, I sort of follow that because there's this team in the Northeast, which is like the Power. That and lacrosse are like the top two sports in the Northeast.
Dude.
Kennepack. I don't know if you heard of them, but they're like an elite hockey team.
I'm sorry, we're back into the game, and Dallas is at first and goal.
Dowdle.
Dude.
Wowdle.
Wowdle Dowdle.
Wowdle Dowdle.
Goes back to the question, though, whether you like Dak or not, why the hell were we not running the ball more when Dak was quarterback? This makes no sense to me.
Dude, I'm all about the running game. And
I thought you were all about that base. No trouble. It's that time of the night.
But like having balance on offense, I just hate when teams go pass heavy, when they go run heavy. Like, just have a balance. Though to me, the run game kind of sets the tone and also controls the clock. You want to be able to keep your offense on the field for more than 30 minutes. You want to keep your defense fresh. You want to make the opposing team's offense rusty when they get on the field. There's so many good benefits of having your offense on the field for 35 plus minutes. And the running game kind of helps with that. So
touchdown Cowboys, but we have a flag. I wonder if it's going to be on Brandon Cooks or not.
I'm behind.
I like you're behind.
What?
I'm P. Diddy.
Oh, God. We're 2 hours and 20 minutes into this show, and you definitely outdid the coverage.
Touchdown Cowboys! Book the isn't it New Orleans this year?
Yeah.
Book those tickets into New Orleans.
Stop.
Collaborate and listen. I back with a brand new. Okay, we're going long tonight, boys. This is fun. Cowboys, a pending extra point tie. Brandon Cooks gets the touchdown. To be fair to Cooper Rush, we were talking about him earlier. Outside of the interception, which it was his fault in that he didn't let the play develop, but the way the interception happened, it really wasn't his fault. He's played a pretty good game. Ooh, a bad snap, but Aubrey's able to make the kick. And the Cowboys, with 10:32 left in the third quarter, have tied the Bengals 17-17. But the defense is going to have to get a turnover. I don't even know if it's a stop. They have to get a turnover.
I'm just shocked at how low scoring this game has been in comparison to what I thought the Bengals were going to do. I really thought the Bengals would have about 30-something points by this point.
Well, I don't know if it'd be this point, but that's still very doable for them. I mean, again, Dallas outside of the first drive, and to be fair, if you haven't watched the game fully, Dallas has not played bad defensively. Like, they're forcing Bengals into some 3-and-outs. Now, the one thing is that that pass rush hasn't been able to get home, but that's a lot of, that's Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow makes it really hard. Even when he gets sacked a ton, there's about 10 other sacks those games that he could have got sacked that he didn't. But I think the defense has played well, but they need a Diggs to step up. They need a Micah Parsons. They need some of that right now.
They need some unsung heroes to step up. They need
a hero.
They need Eric Kendricks to defend the pass well. They need Deron Blanding. Oh, not really Deron. Donovan Wilson to get an interception. They need some of these role players that are on this team to step up a little bit because, like we talked about earlier on the show, it's a team effort.
Yep.
Like you can't just rely on your star players that are getting paid a lot of money to do it. Like they'll be there, they'll make the plays, but in the end, it's 53 men. So.
Technically like 70 if you count the practice squad. Just saying.
Hey, practice squad should be getting some love because their effort on the field during the week helps the 53-man roster succeed on Sundays.
I want to bring this up, by the way, speaking of, because what is the first thing you think of when you hear the word practice? Come on, buddy. Think.
Oh, Allen Iverson.
Thank you. Everybody in our age, that's what you think of.
Yeah.
So me and Studio Wife, we're like you. We're always watching 7 or 8 different things in rotation. Some things we go back to, like, like you and I, The League. That's a very good, like, well, tonight when I finish the show, I'll either watch The League or Family Guy or American Dad while I'm eating my dinner at 11 p.m. and then going to bed. And so we've never watched the final season of Ted Lasso. And part of the reason why is we started it and I was like, man, this just doesn't, it's not the same. And by all reviews, it's not. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just different. It kind of takes a different angle to the show. But we've decided, okay, this off season, again, if people don't know, I cover high school football, pro, and college. We do a ton of shows. So a lot of the stuff we watch in in football season is just kind of stuff we already know. So we started rewatching a Ted Lasso. And when he turns the practice speech from Allen Iverson, who was complaining that why are you worried about practice, into a coach saying, oh, yeah, sure, it's just practice. I mean, you really, really need it, and it makes the team better. That is brilliant TV, dude, because he turns an anti-coaching speech into a coaching speech. And we were watching that recently, and I just was like, folks, if you haven't watched Ted Lasso, I contend it's one of the greatest top 10 comedies of all time.
And it all came from like a little SNL skit.
Well,
or no, actually a commercial.
A commercial. Nike went to Jason Sudeikis and them and said, like, hey, this is what we want. Or Jason Sudeikis, I think, might have went to them. And he bases it off of his high school basketball coach and said this guy was just super funny, super positive. He's the type of guy that he could be watching his house burn down, but somehow he figures out a positive out of that. And, man, the writing on that show and just the sports is as good as it can look. With it being a lower budget, like the actual soccer looks real. Sometimes you can tell it's CGI'd in on a stadium and they're superimposed, but the soccer looks real. But man, just if you're a sports fan, oh, that's a good thing, dude. Here we go. You're a sports fan. What are your top sports TV shows? Not movies, TV shows.
My overall, just TV shows or sports related?
We might have sports related. Sports. That's what I said. Sports, but not a movie. Sports related TV show. This might have to be an extra off season show where we do videos and stuff. But just off the top here, because there hasn't been a ton. Like that's not a genre that plays a ton on. Which I've never understood. You think it would because sports is week to week, so episode can be built on. You start the show with an off season episode, then you go in season and stuff. But yeah, just off the top of your head.
Dude, I couldn't even tell you because right now I'm only thinking about Married with Children. Just because but they do talk about sports a lot.
No. I mean like about a team or about a league. I mean like that, not just
Playmakers.
Playmakers, The League, White Shadow, First and 10. I'm talking about those. I don't mean just shows that were sports adjacent.
Shadow or First and 10.
All right, White Shadow is a show from the 70s about a white basketball coach who was a solid but not great pro player that ends up going to coach in an inner city school. Really, really good show. It lasted a couple years. First and 10 was a show from the 80s on HBO. It was very much a sitcom style comedy where Delta Burke, again, I might be seriously naming names. Okay, so you remember, okay. She runs a team. They're called the Bulls. I think they're called the LA Bulls or whatever. And of course, The League and All American. I think All American's up there. And I haven't even watched fully All American. I've watched one season and I've been told that it's good in season 1, but it gets great in season 2.
Yeah, All American is about Spencer Paysinger. He was a kind of from the inner city and then went to Beverly Hills to play football and kind of led him to college. And he ended up being on the Giants Super Bowl winning team in, I think, 2011.
But you're talking about the real player did.
The real player, yeah. So I watched the first few seasons of All American. It's pretty good. It's just kind of like CW drama, high school stuff. But overall, it's actually pretty good as far as sports related goes.
I'll admit, I still like the high school drama stuff. That's something me, my favorite show, and I know it's supernatural in genre, but Buffy is very much about awkward people trying to live through that first down. Again, Dallas just can't stop the Bengals on third down right now.
All the CW shows, that's probably one of my favorite ones just because it's probably just because it's sports related. But
I like the one, it didn't last long, but I like the one where the female baseball player on FX, I think it was. That was pretty solid. It only lasted like a year. I think it was 2021, maybe it got a second season, but that was pretty solid. The league, I mean, we've done retrospectives on it. We're going to finish that eventually. That might be something we start back.
We have like 3 seasons left to go over, right?
We might start that over though, because we've refined how we do our shows, and I think there's so much we left out in the other ones that we could bring in, and that was back when we were getting 1,000 views per of those, and now expectations a lot. But anyway, the league. Again, all the ESPN one. Oh, geez, I always forget Playmakers.
Oh, Playmakers. I already said that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You brought them up. I will say this: Playmakers is a little over the top at times, and I know that you have to do that. I mean, hell, Yellowstone's over the top.
Yeah.
But at times it's like, but a lot of it. It's not knocking the show. There was that era between 1999 and like 2003. Where everybody shot Gonzo style, like what was the LA cop show with Chickless, where he was the dirty cop?
Shield.
Shield was shot in the same way. Sons of Anarchy, even later in the 2000s, was kind of shot in that same way, where you could tell it was handheld and it was a little shaky. A lot of Playmakers is done like that. I still don't understand how another network has not picked up on that idea of Playmakers and not be connected to the NFL, so the NFL can't have say boo about it and run that show. Because, dude, you're going to get 90% of men watching that show if it's a good drama. Because you and I are thinking about doing a Playmakers retrospective, so we went back and watched some of those. You can find all the episodes on YouTube. You're not going to find them anywhere else unless you have a DVD. Because the NFL whacks that show. That's the first event in my life that I realized how much the NFL controls shit that we don't realize. That's why when you go back and look at Deflategate, look at the Bounty Bowls, look at all that, and the NFL, look at the Zeke suspension and all that, and the NFL just does what it wants, and it's not fair, and they don't care. And that's when I realized, that's I never was against the players making money, but that's when I was at that point where you make every dollar you can with this league, because this league will spit you out. And North Dallas 40 showed that in the 70s, and people forget about that. But yeah,
interception.
Wait, really?
I think
that's a commercial on mine.
Number 28 for the Cowboys, interception.
Are you excited about the Bob Dylan movie coming out at Christmas?
I know of Bob Dylan. I don't know anything else about him.
Speaking of, you do know who Timothy Chalamet is, right?
Chalamet. Yes, I do.
So did you see what he did on the college football show this weekend?
No, what did he do? Malik Hooker got the interception. So what did he do?
He went on the the game day and basically shredded them with knowledge. Like, they were all like, "Oh, you're cute. It's great that you're here." So, is Ohio going to win their game? And like, oh, yeah, they're going to win their game. They're going to win their game by probably like 30 points, and Ohio wins 30-13. And he's just dropping Jackson State's won 5 of 6. Their defense pressure's really picked up in the last 4 games. And he's not a guy that looks like he's a football fan. Correct. So I think they were taken aback by him. I will admit this: I was very not against him, but I thought, okay, yeah, sure. But man, the more I watch him, he's really, really good. I think he'll pull off the thing. I'm like you, though. I know I'm older, and I know who Bob Dylan was, and he's not dead yet. And I get he has a cultural impact. I just never got the cultural impact. I mean, and then I went to the tree, and the tree touched me, and then I peed, and then whoopity-doo. I mean, that's his songs. But hey, I'm also not I don't understand. I'll be the white old guy that says, I don't understand rap these days. They speak of things that confuse me.
Chalamet, of course, he's most famous for the Dune movies.
Yeah.
But
he got started on YouTube, though.
Yeah. His sister is actually in a really good show on Max about college girls and like what they do going through the experience of college life. I forgot the name of the show, but it's like about college girls. So
is there nudity?
It's Max, so it's like sort of, but not really.
I have to look this up. Not because of the nudity, maybe a little bit because of the nudity. Yeah, here we go. The article says Timothy Chalamet nails college game day picker. He joined the blah, blah, blah. He said he wanted to go 6-0 in his picks. And he ended up going 1, 2, 3, 4. He went 4-3, but like this SMU Clemson, he was wrong over a last second field goal because SMU, I have no proof of this. I think SMU was celebrating a little too much on the sideline. The special teams kind of got caught in the thing. He was wrong on Texas over Georgia. Dude, that game went overtime. I mean, that's a pick 'em right there. And then he was wrong on Louisiana over Marshall. Okay. I mean, I don't think anybody had that. So I think that's pretty impressive. Oh, yeah, here he was. He was the only person on the show to pick underdog Ohio over Miami. And then Ohio ends up winning 38-3.
I would have picked Ohio.
They were the underdog for some reason. I'm not going to pretend that I know 100% over the what is that even called now? MAC. I love watching the MAC. They're one of the first ones that did the Tuesday, Thursday games back in the day, and they still do. But I don't follow 100% on the thing. Ooh, Joe Burrows is not happy with himself.
Yeah.
You know what? He should quit and go say, Dallas, I'm sorry. I'm terrible. I'll play for y'all the rest of the year.
Man, stop.
Okay, so bringing that up is Dwaddle's about to go for 200 the way he's running. Is that Dwaddle? Oh, is that Dwaddle?
Well, all I'm seeing is number 73, Tyler Smith. So
I'm at 5:22 left in the third.
5:46 for me.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
What does the future hold for you?
What do you mean?
What are the Cowboys doing in the future? Because I'm living in the past.
Oh, you're living in the 90s, Noe?
Yeah.
But I will ask you this. Speaking of weird rules, we're joking like a player. What did you think about Manfred, baseball commissioner Manfred? You always make me do that, even though I'm assuming if you listen to our show, you at least know.
Dude, you have to just assume, like, you have to kind of scale it back. Not everybody's going to be as detailed as you and me.
What are your thoughts about Manfred and the golden bat roll? He dropped it, but what did you thought about him bringing it up?
Okay, now I'm confused. I don't know about the golden bat roll.
You didn't hear about that?
No, what happened?
So last week, Manfred brought up that owners were kind of interested in what would be called a golden bat rule. And that meant once a game, you could basically put whoever you wanted up to bat, whether they just batted, whether they batted 5 bats ago, whether you're bringing, but you basically so think of it like if you're the San Francisco Giants of 1994 and it's in the bottom of the 9th, bases are loaded, and even though Barry Bonds is 7 bats away, you could say, nope, we want Bonds to bat right now. But you could do that once a game.
Okay. I kind of like it.
I kind of thought it would be fun. And I know I'm, at 49, I'm considered a baseball purist, even though I'm not. Like I'm 100% big.
I got to get a good gift for you for next year.
For what?
It's the big one, man.
Shut up. I'll be 42. I'm a baseball purist, even though I'm not, because I love the pitch count. I wouldn't have minded trying it out. I get that it would be weird. And baseball is the one. It's funny because all these baseball purists act like baseball hasn't changed over the last 50 years. They literally raised and then lowered the mound because of offense. I mean, think about that. And I'm not saying, by the way, we still have 1,000 people listening. We're up to 6,000. We have 1,000. We do appreciate that. We do have a weird chat. One of those that came in. Hey, buddy, you really stream so amazing, and I will love to be friend and fans. Kindly add me on Discord.
Hey, we haven't had all the bots.
Yeah, they finally got that figured out. It was so crazy, some of the ones we'd get. But anyway, Bob Gibson, Sandy Koufax, all of them are great pitchers, but they also pitched in air where the mound was raised higher, and you can almost literally or figuratively, I'm learning to do better at that, you can almost figuratively track where Sandy Koufax's career took off to where the mound was raised. And it does matter a lot. Arm angle, all that. Anyway, the whole point is baseball has changed a bunch. So I love all these people when baseball wants to make a change. How dare they change the sport? Look, I love baseball. But you know this very much. I have not watched much baseball in the last 5 years. And the only year that I really watched it was last year because the Rangers were good. And even then, I would message you, be like, yeah, the Rangers won. But God dang, this game is so hard to watch right now. It is so boring because all it is 100-mile pitches and home runs. 100-mile pitches and home runs. And that's why Juan Soto is getting a $700 million contract because he can hit home runs. He doesn't run the bases well. He doesn't run them bad, but he's not a game changer on the bases. He's not a game changer in the outfield. He hits home runs, and that's what people want now.
It's all about output. We don't care if you hit for 200, but we need 50 home runs and 150 runs batted in. If you can do that, yes, you'll get $800 million from me for the next 15 years. And that's basically what Juan Soto's getting. But, I mean, Soto can hit for average, but.
Dude, who is 71 on the Cowboys?
Lyle Collins, obviously.
Oh.
I think that was actually his number when he was a Cowboy. I'm not sure who number 71 is. I know that's like some information that you and I should know as Cowboy fans, but I'm gonna go ahead and look at the roster. And I'll see if I can figure it out. I know Tyler Guyton's number 60.
Oh, I didn't realize that's Chuma.
Oh, Chuma, okay.
Dude,
So,
he stepped in at left tackle. He's normally a guard. He has stepped in at left tackle.
Chuma Edoga is backup lineman. Typically plays tackle. I think he can slide into guard too.
No, he's listed as a guard.
Oh, okay.
But he's playing left tackle tonight, and he's playing well. Wow. Dallas just gets hit with a personal foul. So let's see this. So Tyler Bass, the guard, had a hold. Okay, so that's they declined that. But then they got Schoonmaker with a personal foul. Oh my gosh.
He must have learned that from Jim Harbaugh when he was at Michigan.
Really? That's what they called a personal foul. So once again, Dallas hurts themselves penalty-wise. 2nd and 26 now with a minute 26 left in the third quarter. And they're going to get 3rd and 24 because they dumped it down to
That was
Z.
just good blocking there by Bass.
No, I had no problem with the hold, but look at the next one. You're a little bit behind. Look at the Schoonmaker penalty.
He just pushed it. Oh, that's just flopping.
Yep, 100% floppy.
He must have watched San Antonio Spur videos from back in the day when they had all the European guys there, like Parker and Ginobili. Because all they were good at was flopping. That's how they got all those championships.
They were pretty good.
That's how they got those championships. They were flopping.
I mean, we didn't have a German that flopped more than somebody in the gas. Wait, I'm stop myself.
Whoa.
Let's look at the Cowboys. 3rd down and 24 now. They're going to run a draw play because they know they're in field goal position. And Dwaddle breaks it big. Up the middle. Not going to be close, but they at least can take the lead. Dude, I got to admit, even if they lose this game, and it'll suck if they lose in a butt-kicking way, I'm enjoying this Dallas team. And I think I texted you that on Thanksgiving. Like, you know what? This is kind of fun. Like,
hey, dude, like you said earlier in the show, if Dowdle can consistently do this where he gets in close to 100 yards a game, we might have figured out our running game situation and we didn't realize it. I want it to be the case, but I guess we'll see over the next few games because as of right now, he did it against the Giants, but he's doing it against the Bengals. Defense is not good, but it's still the Bengals. They're still good on offense. They have an elite defensive coordinator who knows he's going to, gear some of the pressure and defense against stopping the run. And he's still producing. So, yeah, it kind of gives me hope that we might be on the right direction.
Hang on, what? Wait. What? Hope. I'm trying to sound this out. What does hope mean?
Oh, hope is positivity. It's the feeling that you get where you think your team is in the right direction.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm sorry. I know we've been friends for a long time. I'm a fan of the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, okay. So
Hope died in 1995, apparently.
Oh, yeah, because as if we go through the chat, what Hector said, this team hasn't been good since the 90s. So.
Okay, so can I do this? Well, when's the last time the Texans won a Super Bowl? Burn, man. Your best team ever in Houston was the 1979 Houston Oilers. Oh, I really like that team, though.
That was a really good team. I kind of feel bad for them because in the AFC title game, they had that non-call. I guess it was supposed to be a touchdown, but it wasn't the touchdown.
Future Cowboy Mike Renfro. Now, I will say this. they've cleaned that up and HD'd it. I don't know if he was in. Like, that's not as egregious of a call that, well, and I actually think people, I want to say this. I still don't think Dallas wins the game, but it's not as egregious as a call as the non-play pass interference on Dion in the 94 NFC title game. I still don't think Dallas wins that game because they just couldn't stop San Francisco defensively when it mattered. And San Francisco, just like at the end of the first half when it felt like Dallas had taken control, they hit the big touchdown. I don't think they'd won, but that was a terrible non-call. Maybe not quite as bad as the Rams and Saints in 2019. That might be the worst call in a conference game.
We need to do the ranking of that. We need to do a show where we rank that the top 5 or 10 worst calls or worst non-calls in NFL history.
Well, it should be just worst calls. Speaking of, if people don't know, you and I are going to do a special December 23rd Christmas edition.
So that's the third straight Monday night, like third straight special. So tonight we're watching the Cowboy game. Next week we're going to do the college football playoff with Grant, I guess. And then the following week, go ahead.
We're going to do the gifts. It's the season of giving. I came up with this and now I can't remember it. It's the season of giving. The top 5 times the Dallas Cowboys gave a win to their opponent and the top 5 times the opponent gave their win to Dallas. Now, the interesting thing about this is when I pitched this to you, you and I had very different meanings on that in a good way. You're thinking more like when the Dallas Cowboys were by far the better team and Roger Staubach throws for 4 interceptions and they lose. I'm thinking more of like a play, like the Leon Lett Thanksgiving Day, a play lost them the game. So putting this list together, it's funny. And I say not contentious, but this has been one of those look backs that you and I we've kind of had to slot how we're going to do this because you and I just have completely different views on what that meaning means of giving a game away or being given a game.
Yeah, so like I told you, I'm going to work on this on Friday, and I'm going to send you what I feel are the top 5 games where the Cowboys gave the game away and the top 5 games where the Cowboys were given the game. And I'm going to stick to them, and you're going to look through them and give your own opinion. But yeah, it will be a very good special show.
It might be a pretty long one because I think I'm gonna have to. What your view is not wrong. It's just I just wasn't thinking of it that way. I was just thinking more of the one play, one moment, one drive, one terrible coaching.
Yeah, and I think there's a few of them that you and I both agree on just because of some stuff that's happened in the last 20 years where it's like, oh yeah, like for example, spoiler alert, 2006, I think Romo's second game at Washington, they were in line to kick a field goal to win the game. Gets blocked.
Oh, speaking of, okay, I want to. This is a personal conversation we had about that. In my mind, I was thinking of the 05, the Brunel Tomas.
Oh, the 14-13 Monday night game. Yeah,
that's what I was thinking of when I was disagreeing with you. Then I realized, oh no, you're talking about the kicking for a field goal to a personal foul, one of the weirdest personal fouls it was a valid personal foul, but it was just like, why? To Washington kicking for the field goal to winning. No, that is 100% one of those games I'm talking about. You're right on that one.
Yeah, so like that'll be one of them we'll talk about. That'll be a good show. Be on the 23rd. We'll also talk about, of course, what happens during, I think, week 16 or 17 by that point.
Now, we might. This is going to be just a special look back. That's all. That show is just going to be a look back. I always want our look backs to be completely just a look back. So that way, because as soon as we do the show, it still gets posted as a regular video. And I always want the look backs to be a time capsule so you can listen to or watch it at any point in time.
So,
you don't have to.
So sorry, fans. We won't be talking about how the Cowboys had a comfort behind victory against the Buccaneers.
Or
23rd.
Or we might just record a for the first time since last year, a recorded Outdrink the Coverage talking the NFL.
Ooh.
High school football's over for me that week. I'm not doing anything, so we might have time. But anyway, one of the ones I do want to put up for debate, and if the fans, by the way, we're gonna have 1,700 back. Welcome back, folks. The Hail Mary game. I don't think that constitute as Minnesota giving a win to Dallas. I think Dallas went out and took that win. So you and I are kind of having that debate on the Hall of Fame or the Hail Mary game. I don't feel that Minnesota gave Dallas that win.
And my thought process on that was, well, there's really never been a situation where that Hail Mary play was involved. So that's why I felt like, 50 years ago in 75, it would have qualified because that was a very unique play. Now we all know.
Okay. That's a good thing right there. That's a fun little clip, a short thing. Because there's been Hail Marys before the Hail Mary. The Hail Mary got named simply because Roger Staubach to the press, well, what were you thinking when you threw it? I said a Hail Mary. But there has been, let's throw it to the end zone to win. I mean, that's, that's not a new thing. It just became a name thing. So, but see, that's why that show, I think this show is going to be interesting, is because we can, debate and neither one be wrong about it. By the way, Dallas now, defense, Bengals 1st and 10, kind of moving the ball. They're already back into Cowboy territory at the 42-yard line. Jamar Chase just got a first down. Again, this is that issue with playing Cincinnati no matter what. I mean, even when your defense is great, but especially as good as Mike Zimmer and them have played, or called games and played, you can still make the case that it's been the Washington team that their offense is sputtering, and then the Giants who only – I mean, look, let's be honest. The Giants' best offensive play would go back to what's his name who ran quarterback sneaks on 3rd and 12. Was that not McAdoo? Was that McAdoo? No, it was the other guy, Joe Judge,
yeah.
I forget about – but, dude, the Giants – this is why they want to keep Brian DeBall. Because since 2015, you've had 3 other coaches, and Brian DeBall's working on his 3rd year. So add that up. That's crappy.
You saw what he did with Josh Allen in Buffalo. Like, you figure, like, if he was able to pick his own quarterback, maybe things would change.
I don't think he had anything. I mean, I'm not going to say he didn't have anything to do with him, but I think we're realizing now Josh Allen is just a generational talent.
And the thing is, he was the guy that no one really thought he would be this good coming out of college. He was a guy that couldn't throw 60% completion percentage at Wyoming.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But
he was very feast or famine, though. People were either extremely high on him or didn't think he would make a career. And at times through his career, he's been both of those. Now, the thing that I've been impressed with Josh Allen this year, and I know a couple games ago he had a really crappy game, but I think that was right before the San Francisco game. But for the most part, Josh Allen hasn't had a 4 interception, 12 for 20 game this year. He's been so consistent on what he's done. And I mean, he's proven that not every quarterback needs a true number 1. And you and I had talked about that last year where we even said, like, is Joe Allen one of those guys that if you feel like he has to force feed a guy that takes away from Allen? Because it feels like now the whole field is wide open at all times.
Yeah, and I really feel that having a good line and strong running game also helps there too. Not having Stephon Diggs, their number 1 from last year, being traded to Houston, having him not there with his distraction, with his constant need for the football, I really think that's really helped Buffalo as far as being a more complete offense in 2024. And to me, I still think they're the team that's going to come out of the AFC and represent that conference in the Super Bowl.
I'm getting more and more there. Now, there is concern. Again, we talked about this earlier. They did give up 44 to a Rams offense, but I think that Rams offense is very underrated, especially at home. And you're just going to have games like this. I mean, again, I always reference the Baltimore Ravens, their greatest defense ever, and they gave up 35 points in the game.
Yeah.
And Tony Banks was still the quarterback, and Tony Banks actually won the game for him. Tony Banks, the one Dallas Cowboys starting quarterback that never started a regular season game. I went to that camp that year, by the way. It was in Wichita Falls.
Yeah, I was excited when he came to Dallas. I guess they cut him before the season started.
Yep. Parcells did not trust him. I went to that. I went to that camp. Me and my roommate, Jamie, at A&M Commerce, now East Texas A&M. We drove from Commerce to Wichita Falls. That I've randomly been to 3 Cowboy summer camps, oddly enough, Austin, San Antonio, and there. And it was very obvious when we were there, he was not the same Tony Banks. Now, I don't know if it's just one of those where maybe he doesn't perform as good in practice. We talking about practice. And, that didn't work that year. But I think it was the right move. He wasn't going to do anything that would have made Dallas that year be competitive, if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense. He had already won a Super Bowl with the Ravens. He started that season. They went 5-4 with him, but they felt like they were missing something, so they inserted Trent Dilfer, and then I think he just went undefeated, or maybe lost one game down the stretch. But yeah, Trent Dilfer was their missing piece on the offensive side. But Tony Banks got his Super Bowl ring, so it's not a total loss for him in his career.
Trying to look up what year. I think that might have actually been before Parcells.
Bengals driving at the 31-yard line, 20-17 Cowboys with 12 minutes and 30 seconds left. Cash for a first down, ball at the 18-yard line of the Cowboys. So the Bengals are in the red zone.
So this is where I have said this many times on this show, me and you just hanging out. It was 2001. I don't know why I thought it was Parcells. It was 2001 when they kicked Tony Banks to the curb. He was actually supposed to be the first quarterback to replace
Trakeman.
Yeah. But anyway, in this era of football, if you're a defense, just be great in the red zone, and you're going to win a lot of games. Yep. And that's where I will give until the playoffs, and again against certain good teams. But Dan Quinn was really good about holding teams to field goals at this point. This is where you don't. Hey, look, if they tie, they tie. That's tough, but just don't give up a touchdown.
Gesicki with the catch. Burrow has almost 275 yards. He has a couple touchdowns, 1 interception.
Oh, good stuff. Where are you? What time are you? I'm at 11:09.
I'm at 11:25.
Okay, you're a little bit behind. Okay,
you probably should do the play-by-play then.
Well, no, you do it because if you're behind, then everybody's probably with you more than they are with me.
Okay. Well, 2nd and 4, Burrow hands off to Chase Brown. He gains about 2 yards to the 10-yard line, tackled by Hooker, who had the interception earlier.
Whore.
He's a hooker. So, yeah, 3rd and 2, ball to 10. Zimmer trying to call something. You have to cover your mouth, Zimmer. Those are the rules. I
think that's so stupid.
Yeah, I did too.
I mean, as we literally so in high school this year, we had a coach get suspended for going to games and videotaping signals. So maybe it's not that stupid.
Oh, overthrown to Higgins in the end zone, 4th and 2.
Land with the coverage. Dude, they just keep hanging around.
Man, to me, I would have felt the Bengals would have had 40 points by now because they're missing some plays that they typically would have gotten. And against Pittsburgh, they were scoring more points than this. So it's just kind of weird to me.
You mean the team that Dallas beat on the road?
I was with Justin Fields, wasn't with Russell Wilson.
Oh.
But I do like Justin Fields though. I really think he has a future. He needs to be more aggressive, but I really think Justin Fields has a future in the NFL.
That one guy on YouTube that we like, I can't think of his name right now. The UConn guy, white dude with a beard. Graham. He had the best video on that where if you don't know, he's one of those that does where he acts like he's the player and he talks and he's basically acting like he's Russell Wilson and he's telling Justin Fields, but he was right. Like, dude, the problem is you're trying to not commit turnovers, which makes you conservative, which hurts your game, which makes you not want to create. It's a circle. You got to be aggressive. And I don't make fun of Russell Wilson, but the one thing, I said this, somebody thought I meant this as a negative. When I said Russell Wilson throws the best deep ball since Jeff Blake, that was the biggest compliment because Jeff Blake had when he figured it out in the last few years of his career, he became the big 45-yard rainbow arc, let the wide receiver run under it. Russell Wilson has figured that out. And not only has Pickens been better, but Chris Austin has become a big play guy for them, which all of a sudden, look how more athletic Najee Harris looks when the teams have to worry about the pass offense. All of a sudden, Harris has lanes and Harris is beating guys one-on-one and things like that. And that's why I don't want to say that I don't think Pittsburgh can't be a dark horse. I just, and we were talking earlier about that. I still think that they're fundamentally not. They're kind of a regular season team. They know how to win in the regular season. They haven't known how to win in the playoffs for a long time now.
Yeah.
Great response.
I love the caveman commercials.
Oh yeah, dude, I love it. Every time they bring him back, I'm like, okay, still pretty funny. I love the one where he's doing the standing. Is that what the one that was playing where he's doing the comic? He's a stand-up comic.
So this one, they're doing the charades, I think.
Oh yeah, that's a good one too. That's a great one. But yeah, so again, somebody I can't remember who it was. I don't know if it was Bill Simmons or somebody was like, look, the Steelers record that they just tied to the Cowboys is great. But even as bad as Dallas had fallen off in that last part of that run, in 84, they didn't make the playoffs. In 83 and 85, they got beat in the first round, but they had still went to the NFC title game in 82. The Steelers have done this record, and it's great. They haven't had a losing season in 20 years, but they haven't won a playoff game, since 2013?
Yeah, I think something like that. Because 2017, they had the 2 seed, but lost to Jaguars in the divisional round. 2020, they got.
There will be a look back on that Jags team, the team that should have won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean they were up by 10 against the Patriots in the title game, and that the thing is, Bortles was actually pretty good in that game.
He was good in that playoff run. Actually, he was having a Joe Flacco-esque run there.
And I think they would have bottled up the Eagles in the Super Bowl, and I would have been a happy person because now in 2024, in an alternate universe, Blake Bortles would have won a Super Bowl over Nick Foles and the Eagles. And
Bortles would still be getting starting jobs somewhere simply because he won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, because he basically retired 2 years later. His last year with the Jaguars was 2018, which is the following season. And then 2019, he went to the Rams, trying to capitalize on them making the Super Bowl in 2018. But he was a solid backup to Goff, but nothing panned out of it. And he just retired after that.
I thought he played a few more years.
I think 2019 might have been his last season. He didn't play much after that magical 2017 season.
Oh, he won a Super Bowl.
Well, they didn't win a Super Bowl in 2019. The Rams won a Super Bowl in 2021.
No, he was with the Buccaneers. No, he didn't retire till last year. I thought that was true. Yeah, he played for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Wait, we're talking about. Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. I put up Blaine Gabbert.
Oh, another first round pick by the Buccaneers or by the Jaguars. Yeah.
No, the last time that Blaine Gabbert played was 2021 with New Orleans and the Packers. But yes. I don't think he was. I think they were both like practice. Yeah, it's Blaine Gabbert. That's the one. I always get them confused. I can't tell white people. That's a problem with me. I'm racist that way. Yeah. So Blaine Gabbert's the one that he was the first big Jags #1 pick. He struggled, but then had a great 5-7 year career as a backup. Won a Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
For those that are still here watching with us, thanks for staying. We're just going to finish off this game. We're there 10 minutes left in the game and tied at 20. Deep pass to Brandon or Kavontae Turpin, our special teams ace, incomplete.
Oh, damn it. All right. That was the moment. Okay, you ain't got there yet. You'll see it.
Okay. So right now it is 3rd and 11, ball at the 29-yard line of the Cowboys. Cooper and shotgun. 4 wide. And, oh, man, pass rush up the middle.
That A-gap. No.
Well, Cooper Beebe, he's out for this game. He has a concussion. So maybe that was a factor in that pass rush.
Well, I mean, it's also just classic. The linebacker blitz late, the guard and the center collapsed on with the guard on a double team because it's a read. If the linebacker doesn't shoot the A gap, you immediately help your guard, whichever way that call goes. And give Cincinnati credit, the linebacker timed it perfectly. Good punt defense. I guess it's call it. Good punt defense by the Cowboys, though. The Bengals. Now you've got this perfectly because in the NFL today, and you know this. As great as the Bengals are, they'll be happy to run the clock and just kick a field goal. So if Dallas can just keep that, just make that happen, you still have a chance to at least tie the game and go to overtime.
Yeah, I mean, the Bengals need this win more than the Cowboys do.
I mean, I disagree with you. They both need the win. I mean, look, again, we can joke and we can wink, but if people are going to say that, what's the Bengals record right now?
4-8.
Okay, so if people are going to say that a 4-8 team is in their playoff fight, well, then a 5-7 team's in their playoff fight, especially because the NFC won't end up with as many winning. The bottom end of the NFC will settle itself out to where you're not going to have possible 10-win teams being the 7th playoff team. Again, I know inside looking out, we joke because we've seen how bad Dallas can be, but they are legitimately in this. In fact, I would bet their playoff odds right now are better than the Bengals. If the Cowboys win this game or the Bengals win this game, I bet the Cowboys' playoff chances are higher than the Bengals' playoff chances.
Ah, man. I don't know what to say to that. Because right now they're still 2 games out for the 7th spot. Washington currently has that at 8-5.
And Dallas has a game in hand and play Washington.
The Cowboys close out the season at home versus Washington. So, yeah, they have the game in hand. There's a possibility that they could go up the rankings. But, man, I don't know, dude. You got – okay, Atlanta, they've lost 4 in a row.
Yeah, they're reeling. Now, in saying that, Atlanta's a lot like Seattle. They can lose 4 in a row and then win 4 in a row, and neither one of them are surprising. Seattle is the streakiest team. And they did this last year too, man. They will lose 4 out of 5 and then win 4 out of 5. And you're just like, wait, which one are we getting there?
And you think whenever they win, you think they can compete with anybody in the NFL, even though they play ugly football. It still looks like they could just hang around any team.
It's weird. It's ugly football with a passing attack, though. It's not like the old ugly football where it's just a run game. In fact, and I know Charbonnet has been solid in replacing Kenny Walker, who's been hurt. It still feels like they can pass the ball at will, but they also will have games where they score 10 points.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when Kenneth Walker is hurt or just Charbonnet he's not doing it. DK's hurt. It's usually something on the offense. But the blessing though is that 2nd-year wide receiver Jackson Smith-Njigba has kind of like blossomed into a elite wide receiver that we didn't realize was going to happen this season.
I thought he was another year away.
I thought so too, yeah. But I think out of necessity, kind of happened this year.
And sometimes that's how it has to work. Just like CeeDee Lamb, his rookie year was supposed to be a year of, well, he'll figure it out. And then Prescott got hurt. And then he kind of became the number 1 receiver to end the career or end the season with 1,000 yards. Yeah. So 1st down and 10 for the Bengals with 9:27 left. First play is a dive play up the middle for about 4 yards. 4 yards? It is crazy. They're showing the stat right now how Dallas, they're home. I mean, you and I had always complained from 2009 that Dallas doesn't have a real true home field advantage. And then for 3 years, they had a really damn good home field advantage. And now they've regressed to where, I mean, they're 1-5, and we're all surprised that they've held a team to 20 points at home tonight.
Well, mainly surprised because, again, like we said in this show, Cincinnati has a really good offense.
Golly, wide open. Jeez, Dallas. Come on, Don. Dude, Donovan Wilson is one of those that being in a different scheme has really changed who he is as a player. That's a guy that you could make a case was a fringe all-pro player at times the last couple of years, and this year he has struggled.
Yeah, we were talking about that a year or two ago where we thought that he was underappreciated around the NFL.
Yeah. Well, they could have got him with a drop leg tackle right there, too.
Yeah, could have.
It should have been, actually. That should be a penalty. Cincinnati just trying to run out the clock to get close to field goal, and wow, Eric Kendrick makes a play. You'll see here now. I kind of like. I
Shocker.
kind of like doing it before you see it, so I can kind of prep you for it.
Yeah, because they were showing a replay of the Donovan Wilson tackle at the 50. So right now I see 1st and 10 with 8:17 left in the game. Ball at the 49 of the Bengals. Oh, nice tackle in the backfield, Kendricks. All right.
By the way, I like their running back now. I mean, Mixon was awesome, but I think Mixon had ran his course there, but I like Chase Brown. I think he's going to be good for them.
Yeah, you and I both liked Chase Brown back when he was in college at Illinois. They had all those stud secondary players.
Oh my God. 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 Oh my God.
I can't wait to watch the next play.
Oh my God.
Don't say anything. Don't say anything.
I'm not. Holy
All right,
crap.
so, okay, 7:35 left, 2nd and 13. Ball at the 46-yard line. Burrow and shotgun. Tight set. Burrow throws. Caught. Fumble. Recovered by your boy Donovan Wilson to the 28-yard line. Wow.
Is that going to be a catch and fumble?
It was definitely a catch. And
I don't know, man. That ball is never fully set. Yeah, they're calling it incomplete. Yeah. That ball was never fully set. I will say this. That's a second call that's went against Dallas on that kind
he made
of
a Joseph, the receiver for the Bengals, made a football move right there. I think that's a fumble.
I think it's borderline. I think either way. I think the interception earlier was more of an interception. Dude, you're right though, man. I don't have
when
the volume.
He makes that move. It feels like he has the ball in control, and then the strip happens. So I don't know. I hear static.
That's the crowd.
Oh, okay. I really feel that was a fumble. And
I was trying to see what Troy and them had to say, but they didn't give their opinion. I do think the interception, non-interception earlier was more egregious. That's borderline. The football move, it's a weird rule, but but anyway, it's 3rd and 13 now.
Man, big break. So I'm assuming the Bengals convert on 3rd and 13.
No.
Okay, so 3rd and 13, ball at the 46.
Donovan Wilson might have just had the 2 best plays of his season.
Okay, we'll see. Burrow and shotgun. Snapped, drops back, pressure, sack, fumble. Recovered by the Bengals at the 43-yard line.
But look who did it.
Donovan Wilson.
Gets a strip sack, and now the Bengals are having to punt. Now, you can make the case that this might be the best case scenario for Dallas if they can hold on to the ball and play to kick the field goal to win. If they'd have recovered the fumble, they wouldn't have played to the there's no way they could have ran 7 minutes off getting the ball at the Bengal 30. You really do not want the Bengals to get the ball again this game.
Oh, that was face mask.
Yeah, it really was. Should have been called. 100% should have been called. Way freaking wrecked him. Hey, that balances out. And this is why I don't make a lot of issues on the officials 9 times out of 10. That shit balances out. I'm still going to contend. We don't have the volume up. I don't know why they were trying to call that interception earlier an interception. The ball touched the ground. But this stuff usually balances itself out. Now let's see if Turpin can have a big return. Wouldn't mind him to church it.
Yeah.
God, great punt. Jesus. Goes into the end zone, though. So with 6:31 left, the Dallas Cowboys will take over with a chance to run the clock out and kick a game-winning field goal.
And that's what you think is going to happen.
Oh, my God. Is 2012 about to happen again?
Don't.
Oh my God. How did we win this game?
I'm going to mention that on our December 23rd show just for the fact that we were like.
That's honorable mention. That's already honorable mention. I even told you that when you brought that up. I'm like, it doesn't fit what I mean, and so the story is on that. And it's not just the game. It's the whole story. So back then, you and I would hang out almost every week. and we'd watch the Cowboys, and the Cowboys were good offensively for the most part. So we would have fun. We'd call shots for points. I think the way we did it was half shot for a field goal and a full shot for 7 points. And that 2012 Bengal game in Cincinnati was just one of those games where the offense, we referenced the 2005 Washington beating Dallas like that, since that was kind of this game. Dallas could not do anything offensively. I'm talking about couldn't, as my dad would say, pee a drop. So we were like, you know what? This is bad. They're going to lose a game they should win because Cincinnati was good but not great. So you know what? Let's do shots for first downs because that's all they're getting today. They're not going to score any touchdowns. And they proceed on the next 2 drives to not only score points, including a game-winning field goal, but get, I think if I remember correctly, we found out later it was a record for most first downs on back-to-back drives. It legitimately was like 12 first downs. They went on 2 straight, like 85-yard type drives. And so by the end of the game, you and I had went from, I ain't feeling any alcohol to, I'm going to need a nap after this game. We still think they're going to lose. They kick a field goal to win. And all I remember is you and I shirtless, hugging, screaming, how did we win this game? I think that's the day my second wife decided she probably wanted to divorce me eventually.
All right. On that note, can we take a quick commercial break?
Yes, let's take a quick commercial break here on Outdrank the Coverage, the Dallas Cowboy watching party. We'll be right back here in a few seconds. It's football season, and that means it's bug season. Heck, who am I kidding? It's always bug season in Texas, and that's why you need Grandeur Pest Solutions in your corner. They're locally owned and operated. They're trained, they're trustworthy, and they have a proven record as they have been in business for almost 10 years. They provide pest control against ants, bed bugs, bees, roaches, fleas, wasps, mosquitoes, rodents, spiders. If it crawls and you don't like it, they're probably going to take care of it for you. Now, they serve all of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and they're locally owned. These 2 guys have been running this business since 2013, and every year they get bigger and bigger. But you know what they still do? They still have great customer service. In fact, if you get a hold of them, they're usually going to have your quote and your job ready to go within 48 hours. That's pretty good. Now, you can call them for a free estimate at 469-809-1769. You can find them online at Grandeur4, that's the number 4, shore.com. You can also find them on Facebook. Just type in Grandeur Pet Solutions, and we are so happy. All right, we're back here. Intern Noah is away, so I want to take the moment right now to talk about L Dogs Gourmet Hot Dogs. Located in the Frisco Farmers Market, it is the best, and I mean this 1,000%, the best hot dog that I have had in Dallas-Fort Worth. And I can't wait to go back and try more. They're there. Whenever the farmers market is open, they're there. L Dog's Gourmet Hot Dog. They have everything from the normal dog, like you see in the picture, all the way to the Texas dog, which is chili and cheese. They have a Frito pie dog. They have a macaroni and cheese dog. They are so decadent. They are so wonderful. Mr. Robinson, who runs this, he's so passionate about it. And that's the thing we talk about our sponsors. Intern Noah's back. All of our sponsors for Outdrank the Coverage are Texas-based, and they're all so passionate about the product because it's not just about making money for them. It's about making customers happy, and that's why we advertise them. So check them out. As the Cowboys get back to start, and that's a that's that Cooper Rush moment that you get. But anyway,
you're talking about the pass to Ferguson on second down?
Yeah.
Or first down?
Yeah, and now all of a sudden I had to skip ahead. It's already 3rd and 10. So this is that Cooper Rush thing that, and I'm not saying Dak would be perfect right now, but I still don't have a lot of faith that he's going to lead them down the field 75 yards.
Yeah, we had the smoke and mirrors of 2022 where they had the attacking defense, kind of had a favorable schedule.
Including these Bengal team.
Including this Bengal team. Played them early. And got a pretty close win, kind of similar to this game. It was pretty, it was pretty close throughout. So,
wasn't that like 20-18?
It was something really close.
And they go 3 and out. And this is why. And I'm not saying Dak is perfect or anything, but this is what we're talking about. They go 3 and out. Now I have no illusion that they'll see the ball the rest of this game.
You think the Bengals are just going to take it and go down the field and kick a game-winning field goal?
Yep.
Okay.
Now, I
No,
will say this. The pass rush is start. Oh, now we got a flag. There's going to be a big flag right here on the punt return. If it's against the Bengals and backs them up inside the 10, that's huge. But I will say this. The pass rush has started to get to Burrow the last couple drives.
again, the defense. I'm very impressed with how they performed. I was very scared about Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, their elite wide receivers. But for the most part, I really think the only big factor to the Bengals offense has been Chase Brown. I have to look back at the stats, but like it just seems like the
Now Chase has had a good game. They've kept him from explosive plays, but I mean he has like 12 catches, 110 yards or something like that. It's not like he's been bad, but they're doing what we talk about. What again? I think the era of this football should be is you have to like keep people in front of you. He's 11 receptions, 120 yards, so he's had a great game. By the way, oddly enough, his touchdown won me a lead.
It's funny you say that because I was actually referencing Chase Brown, not Jamar Chase. But you are correct. Jamar Chase has been really good today. I just didn't realize it just because of how the flow of the game has been going.
Yeah. No, 100%. That's what I was saying. Like he's had a big game, but you don't feel like he's just absolutely killed Dallas. But anyway, so Jamar Chase's touchdown won me a league. CeeDee Lamb's touchdown won me another league. I went from having, again, I'm in 7 leagues. I went from being on the 3 and 4, 4 and 3 border to where I'm going to go 5 and 2. I have now, in the past 4 weeks, went 5 and 2, 7 and 0, 5 and 2, and 5 and 2.
Congrats.
That's why next year, I think sometimes communication gets lost on what, like, my idea of something. My whole idea was we were going to do a fantasy-only Patreon show. I would like to do that next year. I think you and I consistently win enough to where our knowledge can be useful. I mean, I've won one of our leagues. I've made the playoffs every year in our leagues. When you and I used to be in your work league, I made the playoffs every year, went to the finals in one of the years, or semifinals in one of the years. So, I mean, I think you and I have the cred and we know enough. And plus, you know, we research, and that's something we both do. Now, the fun thing is you and I build teams differently, and that's where I think that type of show will be fun.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty fun. Well, hey, we can always do it next year.
Oh, and by the way, speaking of next year, in a good way, a lot of changes are coming to L4 and Outdrink the Coverage. We'll discuss those more when they happen, but I'm really, 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 truly excited where this show and this entity that is Outdrink the Coverage, because this isn't just a show anymore. We talk everything, and that's one of the things we want to flex out and flesh out Outdrink the Coverage more in 2025 is where we do, you know, we started the every other happy hour in the off season. We're going to continue that. We're going to talk more hockey. We're going to talk more basketball, more baseball. We're going to Texas Two Seams coming back. You know, we're going to figure all that out because at this point, Outdrink the Coverage is becoming an entity of its own, and we want it to grow naturally on its own. And that includes Bad Movies and a Drink. I can't feel that that's under the Outdrink the Coverage network. And so we're really excited. We've had great numbers this year. I'm not complaining about this year at all, but I'm really excited about what we can do next year for Outdrink the Coverage. All right, 1st and 10 for the Bengals.
I'm still in commercial break.
Refresh. That's what I do. I think maybe that's what I do that you don't. I just consistently, if I feel like I get behind, you can go to that live button if you're on your like computer, and if it says to click it, that means you're behind. So 1st down, Burrows scrambles and throws a 1st down. So the Bengals are 1st down and 10 at the 31-yard line. Jamar Chase with his 12th catch.
And this is what I was scared of. Like I really felt that they should have been doing this whole game. But that's how you know that there's something wrong with this team, where you know that they could just easily beat the Cowboys. But it's 2020. 5 minutes left to go in the first or the final quarter, and it's a situation where like the Bengals should not be in this position. And I still can't figure out, even after watching this game, watching every play, I can't tell what's wrong with this team.
Okay, I'm going to say it. I don't think it's necessarily what's wrong with this team. I think Dallas has played a pretty solid defensive game this game. Like it's not like Joe Burrows is 28 of 39. You can make the case they haven't ran the ball as much as they should, but I mean, you know, Brown has a decent yards per. I just think Dallas has played a really better game on Oh, and then as I say that, Jamar Chase drop. Oh, whoa, no! You're gonna call. Okay, I have to see the replay. I don't want to say it's a bad call. Basically, Jamar Chase gets a pass interference call at the star, at the 50, not Frisco. That'd be really weird. Jordan Lewis, who, by the way, Jordan Lewis has proved I think he's a keeper. The defense, oh man, that's tough. Like, I get it. That's a tough call. That's a tough one, man. I'm just going to say that's a tough one for Dallas. But Jordan Lewis, I feel like we all talk about how better the defense has got when Micah Parsons has come back, and it has. I think when Jordan Lewis has been back in the lineup, this defense is better.
Yeah, it kind of gives like a more of a solid one. Well, I guess the word I'm trying to figure out is not complimentary, but just an added piece.
Yeah, he's not a guy that might make plays. Like, he's not going to go out and be the guy that intercepts 4 passes, but he adds some security to that back safety line where it doesn't feel like Dallas, and as I say this, they're probably going to throw a 50-yard touchdown, but it doesn't feel like, since he's got back, teams are able to really exploit Dallas deep, which is what the Saints and the Ravens at times and the Eagles and all them, that's what they've been able to do.
When the Cowboys drafted Jordan Lewis and Chidobe Awuzie in like 2020 or 2021, I really felt that addressed a lot of our needs on in the secondary. But I don't know. I guess with the Awuzie always being in good position, but never making never defending the pass well. Like his opponent would always make a spectacular catch over him. And then Jordan Lewis always being relegated to nickel or dime defense.
Yeah, that's a good point. I still think Awuzie kind of got a bad, Byron Lewis, or was it Lewis? That was his name, right? The UConn guy? Was that Byron Lewis?
Oh, Byron Jones.
Byron Jones. Byron Jones kind of had that same thing with Awuzie, where Byron Jones was a really solid corner, but because of where he was drafted, people didn't feel that he didn't reach his value. And I'm like, the dude's in position. And Awuzie had that happen through the totality of his career, even when he went to the Bengals.
Yeah. Yeah, even with the Bengals that happened. Now he's with the Titans. Which really doesn't matter because now it's so wrong on that team. They had done everything right in the offseason. They drafted, or not drafted, but they signed so many good free agents, but they never really addressed the quarterback situation. So,
oh wow!
All right, let's see what happened here. I'm seeing it's 3:18 left. Bengals are still on their side of the field.
You want to know what's wrong with the Bengals? The last 2 plays.
Okay.
Well, you saw the penalty against them.
Yeah.
And now there's another hold. So they go from 2nd and 6 to 3rd and 27.
Oh, I see the flag.
So this is going to really suck when they're about to get this first down on 3rd and 27.
Yeah.
That's how much faith we have in the Cowboys. Oh, you could have got Parsons with a late hit right there. In today's rule, it's not a bad hit, but I'm saying in today's rule, I could have easily seen that call. So, no, I'm sorry, 2nd and 26. So, yeah, they'll get the first down. So, yeah, maybe part of the Bengals' problem this year is the fact, like tonight, they've had 10 penalties for 77 yards. Dallas has actually been really good, 4 for 36. Yeah, they're going to – oh, no. Okay, good. Whew. So let me ask you this. Is that something Dallas needs to work on with their drafting? Is maybe like, hey, we don't take the top guy because he has a tendency to commit too many penalties, and maybe we need to. Micah Parsons is struggling, man. He is in pain. That's one thing I love about him. That dude is a warrior. I don't get some of the Cowboy fans that kind of want to crap on him. I think the dude's a beast. And I think, this year he's not going to end up with 15 sacks, but he's going to end up with a sacks per game very high. And once again, he lives in the backfield. I love the dude, and I love his energy.
I just think you can't really take this year and have an opinion on Micah Parsons. I really feel like he's been exhausted. As I see him being hunched up. Yes.
They might have a chance.
Oh, boy. Okay. Well,
they might have a chance, don't we?
Okay, well, I'm looking at 3rd and 20 right now. But I was
You
going to
look
say about
at
Parsons
I'm gonna
was
look at Travelocity for booking Super Bowl tickets for me and you in New Orleans this year.
anyway,
Hey,
when
do
you
you
have
want
some one player to do
do you
go
want to be
ahead.
the one with cancer or me the one with cancers for Make a Wish to get free? Let's
Sack.
do you. Minority cancer. It's gonna work, dude.
3rd and long sack. Okay, I see what you're talking about.
I mean, okay. I'm just saying this right now. Whether they win or lose, Dallas, this game is in hand for them.
2-minute warning. Ball's going to be back in the offense, so it's up to Cooper Rush to deliver. All on him, not anybody else, obviously. But no, like going back to Parsons, when you're asking this one player to do everything, it's just going to max him out. Like
What happened? Where'd you go?
I'm still here.
Well, you just stopped talking. I was agreeing with him. Like, yeah, I agree.
Oh,
with you.
okay. No, I was going to make a comparison like Max Crosby for the Raiders. He is a guy that. No, they have some talent there, like with Jack Jones in the secondary. But as far as pass rush, they drafted Tyree Wilson last year, but I mean, it's really just Max Crosby. And when you're asking someone to do too much, like it's exhausting. So
I'm really sad he wasn't traded this year.
I really wish he went to like an actual contender, like the Lions who missed. Yes.
You know who he reminds me of?
Okay, who does he remind you of?
Defensive end for the Bengals, Hendricks.
Trey Hendrickson. Okay.
Remember, they finally traded him, but he kind of was on some Bengals teams that were in the in-between before Joe Burrow, where he was really, really good, really solid. He didn't put up great numbers, but because, as you said, he had to do everything on that defensive line. That's Max Crosby, man. And you made me come around Max Crosby. I always thought he was slightly overrated because every team, bad teams have the one guy. I always call it the Darren Hambrick effect or Troy Hambrick because both of them were the exact same brothers. But they were both really okay on great Dallas or bad Dallas teams, and so their worth gets kind of elevated. Eugene Lockhart, and this is no disrespect to Eugene the Hit Machine Lockhart, but he was one of those guys like Darren Hambrick, the linebacker, who would have 4,000 tackles on the year, but if you went and graded them, like 90% of them were 5 yards down the field. So I always kind of thought Max Crosby was like that. Oh, he's an okay player on a bad defense that somebody's got to pick up those stats. But man, the last few games, not few games, but like over the last year and a half watching him, dude, that dude is double teamed and chipped, and he's still getting back to the quarterback.
Yeah. Eugene Lockhart from Crockett, Texas, man.
Yeah, Eugene the Hitting Machine. So 4th down and 27. I'll take over the play calling because I am ahead, so it'll help with the viewers because I know it's play. Oh my God! Oh my God! Holy crap! A block punt. The Cowboys blocked punt. Oh, but they fumble it. Oh my God! Wow.
Bullcorn.
The Cowboys block the punt. The ball goes forward. Cincinnati recovers. They take over 1st down and 10.
Oh my God!
There's the nut. We just got punched in the nut. God. Okay, this is now the 5th worst ever loss given by the Cowboys. They block the punt. It goes across the line of scrimmage. It gets fumbled by Dallas.
Wait, we need to add this to our December 23rd show.
This is now the 5th game. I cannot believe that. Wow. Don't touch that. Leon let it. You didn't have to touch the ball. The ball was Dallas's, and number 27 tried to recover it. I get it, but God, you got to know the rules.
That's crazy.
Oh my God, dude. Jesus Christ, man. We knew it was going to happen this way.
It had to. But between these two teams, they're both struggling to win games. Yeah, it had to happen this way. Oh my God!
You know, it's funny. I was going to say this earlier. The one thing you say about Dallas over the last 2 years, they hadn't really had these nut kick losses where they They take and they were tied, so it's not guaranteed with Cooper Rush that they're winning the game. But they take a loss or win and turn it into a loss. And here we are. They're going to take a win and turn it, or at least a chance to win to turn it into a loss. And that's tough because nobody. I mean, yeah, don't touch the ball, but you can't blame him. Like this isn't the same as the Leon Lett. The Leon Lett, like there was no reason to touch the ball. I get it in this moment. You just look down, you see the ball, you don't know where it's coming from.
Snatching defeat from the jaws of victory.
Or at least the chance for victory. Again, with Cooper Rush in this offense, there's no guarantee. But god dang, this is a nut kick, dude. This sucks.
No, you know it's about to happen right now. They're already close to midfield.
Oh, no, they just ran the ball for a first down all the way to the Cowboy 40. Game's over. It just sucks because, again, I literally was going to say earlier, the one thing you can say about Dallas over the last few years, they haven't had the true – I mean, you've had the nut kick losses like Green Bay and San Francisco in the playoffs, but you haven't really had the – Dallas had the win in hand and gave it away. This is a great promo for our Christmas special because, Jesus Christ, this will go on the show.
I'm going to go ahead and pour out my final drink.
Yeah, me too.
What's about to happen here. But hey, I'm glad Chase Brown's going to give me some fantasy points.
Why is it Dallas calling? Oh, let him go. Let him score. Jamar Chase is going in, and he's going to score. Holy crap. Stupid play by Jamar Chase.
Did he take a knee?
No, he scored a touchdown.
Oh, so he gave the Cowboys time. Okay.
Yeah, if he goes out of bounds, and again, it's Cooper Rush. It ain't going to happen. But if he goes out of bounds, by the way, Jamar Chase on a 40-yard touchdown, if he goes out of bounds, Cincinnati wins the game 100%.
Okay, Chase.
I'm just rooting.
Yeah.
Good turn. And by the way, Jamar Chase now going to with like 190 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Not bad. Let me look at my fantasy.
This is where it's just like in a crappy year. What makes this even crappier is if Dallas would have built themselves some kind of cushion.
Yeah.
And to be fair, it's not like Dallas has gotten beat by teams that are worse than them. That's one thing we can say during this run. Dallas has ended up having a pretty damn tough schedule. But if they could have just created a cushion by winning one of those other games, you could accept this loss but feel good because, again, they have held a great offense to 27 points with one of it, 27 or 7 of it coming in the last minute. This is a game that will feel like Dallas should have won. Or not should have won, could have won. I think that's a better way. Could have won. God, this really sucks, man.
So my one loss this week will be in our fun league, the ODTC, the league. I have Jamar Chase, but my opponent has Burrow, and he had Tyreek Hill. So I'm trailing by 7 points, but I still can't win.
Golly, that
sucks. What were you expecting?
Well, it's not an expectation overall. Going into the game, I wasn't expecting anything. But, again, when you
losing like this off the block punts.
Yeah,
it's just recovered. This should be in our top 5 for sure. Because
I just said that it will. This is definitely, if they don't pull this out in great kick, not to give Turpin a chance, and they're not going to pull it out. Like if it was 23-20, I would say okay, I think Cooper Rush can get them close. But with a minute left, I mean, he's just this is and if he look at Micah Parsons. Oh man, dude, he is in pain, and I don't mean physically. He is just emotionally like, hey, Micah, welcome to the Dallas Cowboys. This is how it is, brother. He is so mad. Like, I don't even know. He's like frenetic. I don't know if you got to that part where they're showing him. He's like frenetically just like freaking out. Like, it's weird.
I'm at the point where the touchback happens and the Cowboys are entering the field. Oh, no, I see it now.
All right, first down and 10. They do get a first down up to the 45, CeeDee Lamb. So here we go. 51 seconds left, 50. Come on, Dallas. Oh, they call timeout.
If they score a touchdown, do they go for 2?
Oh, good question. I don't know, man. At home, while Cincinnati's offense is amazing, I don't really feel that they're showing that when they played in 2021. They're showing the game-winning field goal. I don't know if you go for 2 tonight. I don't feel like it's like, and I know the Cincinnati offense is awesome. I don't feel like, if Cincinnati wins the kick, they automatically are going to score a touchdown. So I don't know. That's a good question. I don't have a problem. Honestly, I don't have a problem with either way on that. Call it either way, but let's just actually get a touchdown, which ain't happening. See, now I'm on the opposite. I hate this team.
Now they're showing the last meeting from 22, the touchdown, the field goal.
And that's Cooper Rush right there. They still have the ball, but you'll see. I'm gonna drink till Wednesday.
Well, you and Grant have a special little live show tomorrow night.
Yeah, we're doing a live state semifinals show as the Bengals just sacked Cooper with 30 seconds left.
I think I remember last year y'all had about 30,000 listeners for y'all's big show.
Well, and views too.
Yeah. So maybe y'all surpass that tomorrow night. How many people tuned in for tonight's show?
Well, I don't know the total yet, but right now we still have over 700. We just had a couple thousand earlier. At one point we had 6,000. So we've had another successful show. And by the way, this will end right when the game over because I'm done for the night. God, dude, it just sucks how it happened, man.
So close.
I know people will blame, but I mean, it's just one of those plays that just happens in football. So 3rd and 15, rush, back to pass, ball's caught, but well short of the first down. So it's going to be 4th and about 8. Boy, Ferguson is, and I know he's been hurt, and again, I know Dak, but Ferguson has not developed like I thought he would. I see now why they still felt the need to draft Schoonmaker. Not that Schoonmaker's done anything, but.
Well, I mean, I think with Ferguson, he had concussion issues. He had some injury concerns this year, so I would probably give him a pass this year and just see what happens in 2025.
I mean, so how many? That's a good comment. How many of these players do we give a pass? Because I mean, again, this kind of goes back to 2020 and all the way back to 2015, or I'm sorry, 2010, where we want to go, well, the quarterback got hurt, so that changed things. But it wasn't like Dallas was playing well under Dak. So it's not just the quarterback. So how many of these players do we keep getting the benefit of the doubt? Oh, well, it's because here we go, 4th and 7. I'll call this one. 24 seconds left, 4th and 7. Cooper Rush, shotgun, 2 wides to the right, 3 wides to the right, looking to pass, has time, throws the ball, ball's going to be incomplete. And that's the game. CeeDee Lamb is wide open. God.
So I turn off my tablet.
I knew this was good. I don't know why. I felt all along, I felt this today, and I meant to tell you this. I felt like this was going to be a kick in the nuts game.
Yeah.
Like wait, is Hendrickson back on the Bengals?
Yeah, Trey Hendrickson's been with the Bengals for a few years. He wanted to leave.
I'm talking about the one that was traded. I was talking about the guy that was the end from the Bengals that was actually traded a few years ago.
Was it Dunlap or
no, not Carl? I can't remember. I'm too late tonight. Damn it, this sucks, dude. Oh well. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll finish out with what do you do now if you're the Cowboys? What's next? You can't tank. You're not going to tank. So
the players and coaches are not going to tank, but I still feel you should continually evaluate talent. That is the phrase you use. Evaluate talent, see who is in contention to be a Cowboy in 2025, and see who probably should be released. But I mean, like the next few weeks will be a good determining factor for that. So.
I just have this weird feeling they're going to end up winning just enough. And again, I will say this. I don't know if Dallas needs to have a top 10 pick. We were talking about this last week, remember?
Yeah.
Like you do a top 10 pick. Are you going to, well, okay, I'll put it this way. Running back from Boise State.
Ashton Gentile, yep.
I would feel better drafting him at 17 than I would at 7.
Correct.
I would actually feel better just drafting him in the 2nd round, to be honest with you. Nothing against him. I think he's a generational running back. I think he's a guy that his body style and everything, he's not going to be one of those that in 5 years gets grinded down. But I also understand that I don't think, and you keep saying it best, Dallas doesn't need to worry about the star positions. They need to worry about building back the depth. That was the one thing that 2021, 2022 had well, 2019, even 2020, because again, let's go back to, and this is a compliment to Cooper Rush. If 2020 Andy Dalton doesn't get just absolutely brained against Washington, that team actually got way better than people realize. And they were actually in contention late but they didn't have, by that point, they're on Garrett Gilbert and all that. So if you had
who almost beat the Steelers.
Who should have beat the Steelers. That was one of those games where some weird calls, I can't remember them all, but some weird calls late went against Dallas that was kind of like this game, honestly. And I'm not saying that Dallas got screwed by the officials, but there's a couple plays I'm like, how did that go against them? But I think we're at that same point. And I think the difference is now, though, is if you get the 15th pick, you get the 16th pick, then you're getting lineman depth. You're getting linebacker depth. You're not getting show players. You're not getting the guys that are at the top of the board, but you're getting the guys that play for 10 years. And Dallas, you said that best. They need to restock that the most. By the way. Wait, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
What's going on? I'm taking my last 99 for. I told you I needed this tonight.
Butt sting! I detest you! You're all garbage! Oh, yeah. Back up the truck! Back it up! See, I told you. Bring out the tarp. Cover the field. I can't watch this anymore. It's over. Turn the lights out. Let's get the bulldozers in here and turn this place into a parking lot.
Oh, anyway. Buddy, thank you for watching the Cowboys with me. This was a fun night. I love these.
Yeah, me too, man. Had a good time.
We'll be back next Monday for a normal happy hour again, which will also include a college playoff preview show. And then we'll do our normal stuff. And then we'll have the next week will be we'll have to figure that out. I guess we're going to have to record a couple tape shows because we want to do a review of the first weekend of college playoffs. I'm sorry. That doesn't start till the next week. I keep forgetting that.
Yeah, so the first round is on the 20th.
Yeah, we will, because we're going to record the 2 shows from now is the 23rd. We're going to record a look. Maybe the look back needs to be taped. Maybe we do that. And then the live happy hour be... Anyway, we'll figure all that. Anyway, we want to remind everybody to thank our sponsors, Beach Whiskey, Grandeur Pest Solutions, Lazy Dog Kettle Corn, and... my favorite hot dog in Dallas-Fort Worth, that's L-Dog's Gourmet Hot Dog. All of them make this show possible. We appreciate so many people. Man, we still got almost 1,000 people watching or listening, and we do appreciate that. If you have any questions, thoughts, or comments, you can email the show, odtcshow@gmail.com. Also, we kind of slacked, but we would love to have people join our Patreon, because next year we're going to have a lot of Patreon content specifically for Outdrank the Coverage. So all you got to do is hit that scanner right there, or just go to patreon.com/L4 Media Company. Until next time, he's intern Noe the Pro. I'm Terry, and I hate football.